Commanding General Johanna Razors, Rufus and Ruddy. Hit the dirt, bottom of fringes in my boots is getting muddy. But the money ain't a thing unless my brother's good. That's brotherhood is understood. Blaring out the underwood, nothing but aggression till our oppressor is underfoot. This is my confession, sharpen my weapon by studying the book. You ain't gotta go through academy to bite the bullet. Gangsta and disciple music, like a Nazarite would do it. You can hide from war, but those that seek to save their life will lose it. Wonder why these white folks is ruling, cause we put them Edomites in charge. Capt locked to it, reestablish his contract with God.
I ain't got opinions, I just take orders. Too easy to be a coward, I can't change garments. Same story like Adam and Eve. Found out they was naked, try to sow some leaves. I'm just trying to sow what I reap. If the blind lead the blind, then that hole gon' be deep. It's the work of the Lord, God roll up my sleeves. Went from digging up evil nigga and rolling up weed. I know what I see. My people destroyed y'all. Who gave you that white image? People destroyed y'all. Feel like Marvin Gaye. Tell me what's going on. Yesterday I seen this black man on the overdose. Same day DMX died, hell is cold. If you value what they teach, you'll never grow. Black man got more value than precious gold. Be careful what this world is, snatch your soul.
Looking for a Christ man, one who knowing it with the Lord, with the Spirit of the Lord, to do his will. I'm that nigga.
One West, 125th Street. Look, y'all put y'all faith in presidents like they gon' change this country. Run the league and let y'all play cause y'all gon' make a money. Fuck Obama, he ain't come here on cargo slave ship. What the fuck he do for blacks in his administration? I'm waiting, patient like a saint. Black, Hispanic, Native, they hate your ass the same. Paint Christ in their image, paint you as a slave. God ain't all love, scriptures say he hate. African soul niggas, they know we not the same. School to prison pipeline to get you off the streets. Put you in the cell toilet connected to the saint. Molested as a kid, she prostituted as a teen. The byproduct of Martin Luther King dream. They just took the yoke off, my nigga, we ain't free. We living bleak in these wastelands of poverty. If you don't know the truth, then the lie sound promising. Prophecy, gift and the curse. Dylan started killing, they was sitting in church. Black folk forgave him, man, this shit is absurd. You should never love your enemy, that shit ain't gon' work. Yeah, fuck dying on your knees, you better die in glory. Man, I joined the UPK, taught me the art of war. I took a nigga life like mine to be recognized. I feel that pain every day, it can't be reconciled. Pops banging, my sister a prostitute. My brother got life, and somehow I still found the truth. War ready, no cowards, no excuse. Fuck reparations, you can't bandage no open wounds. Blood on the leaves, body swing hung from a noose. I was on a run in Nashville and I found the truth. I called the school, classes being held by the shot. On my life, I want to be a gangster like a cop. Do this for my brothers, real brotherhood. Everything we do, we got it out this book. My nigga, I can never be no African. UPK the only authorized acronym. I'm passionate about my brothers and sisters. We in hell, I ain't got nothing against them. That's another religion. If it ain't under your honor, ain't be murdered by them and got a hug from your honor. That's the way out for a coward in my observation. They don't fear the Lord, they indoctrinated. Wolves in sheep clothing, Joe Osteen. Real priests bringing back black royalty. One West on my headpiece, ranking order. Can't let them trick me off the streets, I gotta raise my daughter. I got brothers at the border ducking ICE agents. I got the name change, it was life changing. My family thought it was a game. Put on all black, they said I was going through a phase. There's more of us in jail than it was slaves. Chose by the Lord, we could never be the same. Soon as they born, the wicked go astray. They left the truth, they wasn't with us anyway. Niggas weak, they just saying anything to be truthful. We don't want no cowards anyway. Look, Coronavirus, that's a plague. You don't get too much sleep when you waking up the dead. First camp, I cut off all my dreads. I took an oath when that oil hit my head. Niggas capping like they lids. I'm a priest, I never stick no fork in no pig. I was dead till I found out how to live. This brotherhood taught me how to be a man. I came back to my roots, I had to dig. A couple gaps I had to bridge. I got a rib, I'm married to this work. You wanna serve the Lord, he ain't in the Christian church. Came back to my roots, I had to dig. A couple gaps I had to bridge. I got a rib, I'm married to this work. You wanna serve the Lord, he ain't in the Christian church.
I'ma kill this nigga. I'ma bitch. I'ma kill this nigga. I'ma fuck your bitch. I'ma kill this nigga. I'ma fuck your bitch. I'ma kill this nigga. I'ma fuck your bitch. I'ma kill this nigga. That's the real anti-Semitic shit that the Jewish people get paid off for.
The most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
So you think that's hypocritical though? You're saying
it's opportunistic.
Yeah.
I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture.
Now let me little Apple move. Let me on Apple right now. How many people want to bet their house that content is not within the first 3 songs on Apple Rap Music?
Nobody.
They're gonna have to take my life before they take my people.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Can y'all hear me on Clubhouse? If y'all can give me a quick 1. If y'all can hear me on Clubhouse, if y'all can hear me on YouTube, if you can give me a quick 1, I would greatly appreciate. I appreciate the ones coming through. I wanted to play that video. For those that don't know, I am having a debate today with a white guy by the name of Vincent James. This will be on the Killstream app. It's streamed live on here on Clubhouse as well. I'm going to have a section where, for those that are listening on Clubhouse, you'll be allowed to ask questions as well. So at the end of the dialogue, what they always do on Killstream is they take callers from their site. So what we'll also do is take questions from the chat or questions from those that are on stage. So if you do have a question that you want to bring up or say, you just want to wait to the end of the dialogue, and then of course we'll let you ask your questions. All right, so I'm going to be joining the room shortly. I got to click this link that he has for me. Just let me make sure everything is all right. I appreciate y'all joining. If y'all haven't, also too, if you're on Clubhouse, of course, you click the greenhouse up at the top. Is my man Tyler in here? Okay. Make sure you click that greenhouse up at the top. If you want a PTR, just hit me. If you're in the school, you got to go into the Facebook Messenger chat. If you're not in the school, you can hit me up on Instagram. Send me a picture of yourself. We'll definitely get you a PTR. We do have pink for the sisters, so you ain't got to worry about, being manly and shit, unless you like black. I mean, some people might like black. But yeah, so I'm going to be clicking this link, so just bear with me a second. I'm just going to play one more song while I click the link and work with them as far as that goes. I'm just going to play one more song. Let me see what song I'm going to play. Give me a second. There you go. Radio. Let me see. Let's do this one.
I got you. Let it rap real quick. Look. See the odds.
It's time to vote God. My God, a real nigga. Cause he wasn't no flaw. Posted on the corner like a watchdog. Family secure, got that shotty in the closet by the mob ball. Fuck what they heard, but tell them it's all true. Be cautious, that foundation falls till you fall through. They gon' fall. Look, I keep this shit 50 times soon. Ain't no more heart in this game, I'm John Q. Told it in the avalanche, way above average. Fans taste sweet, told him make me an apple tree. Left us in the valley full of bones, this where hope found. Java, come on, man. Dark sands get broke down.
Ralph, can you hear me? Ralph, are you there? Ralph, I see you're muted. I'll wait till you come back. And then so I'll play music until you start talking. Let me bring the song back. This song is by Captain Akai 144 The Rebel. Hey, I want to shout out the Hunter side. I'm trying to set up a we're supposed to set up a versus against the Hunter side. So it's supposed to be ISUBK music versus they music. So there's a brother, BSM, I believe is his name, and also Pitbull. So shout out to them too. I sent them some music, and I was just telling them the other morning. I said, "Now, BSM, I done sent you the music. I ain't heard nothing back. Now, if you scared, just say you're scared." So I sent them like a Ka music, Kadazar music, Danya Allah, Captain War. So I'm sending them the music. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just waiting for Ralph and them to come up in here. So whenever they get ready, we'll come back. So I'm gonna just bring that song back. So
I got you. Let it ride real quick. Look.
The city eyes. It's time to vote God. My God, a real nigga. Cause he wasn't no flaw. Posted on the corner like a watchdog. Family secure, got that shot in the closet.
Okay, hold on a sec. Can you hear me, Captain?
yeah,
And Ben? Yes, I can. All right, now let me pin this here.
How's that how's my camera, by the way, that I'm using? Because I'm streaming right now.
It's from above, but that's fine. That's much better than no camera at all, because I know we were talking about how to get your camera from working. It's just from above a little bit. Here, I'll show you.
Yeah, I know. I see it.
No, that's perfectly fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah, because Vince is trying to get 2 video sources. I'll show you how to do the virtual camera. Maybe if you have time. That's how I do it. And that's the only way I know how to do it. Unless you have 2 cameras like you have set up. You can set up a whole new angle. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. I have a camera sitting around that I don't use. I have thought of having like a separate Gunt Vision or something here from the side. Maybe Gunt Vision. I was joking. That's a
I thought you said something else.
no, I was joking. By the way,
I can barely hear. I can barely hear the other guy.
Okay, turn your.
I don't know why.
Turn my mic up.
Hold on.
Turn my mic up.
Yeah, you are a little low actually. Now that he mentions it, yeah. And I'll see if I can.
What about now? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing,
That's way
testing
better.
1, 2.
But is it too loud on your end?
By the way,
No,
Vince,
I'm
you
good
seem
to
like
go.
you're on the wrong. Hold on,
No.
you're on the wrong mic too.
Oh, hold on.
Pause.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you sound like you're talking on the phone.
What the? Hold on.
Yeah, and it looked like you paid some money for that camera stand, mic stand.
It might be better like this,
Yeah.
actually. Some people in chat said it might just be better like
Hey,
this.
Killstream. I mean, I don't know why I always say Killstream. Ralph, you know how I usually take questions, right?
Sure.
So I also stream on Clubhouse. So I told them at some point if they had any questions, I would let them ask. If they have a question for Vincent or anything, if we can squeeze that in, that'd be
Sure. I'm perfect. I'd love that actually.
Can you guys hear me now?
yeah. You
Yes,
sound now you
Okay.
sound like that, and money
All right,
for your mic stand was a good investment. Now you
Good,
sound
good.
like-
There we go. There we go.
There you go.
We're good. We're good now.
There you go.
So what's going on? How's it going, man? I'm this is the first I've actually heard about you. Ralph was telling me about you, and I watched a couple of clips. Pretty funny stuff. He was
Right.
saying that we don't disagree on much, but we can discuss some stuff and maybe get into Kanye. I mean,
yeah, I think that's what we was going to talk about.
We just went over his stream just now with Lex Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that guy is just dropping red pills left and right. I mean, he just keeps leaning into it.
Well, I know one of the things, I guess, because the Kanye West is definitely a hot subject. I'm pretty sure you guys love what Kanye West is saying from your side. Because I think when they say we have a lot of stuff in common, I think the one thing we do have in common is that the so-called Jewish man is y'all probably feel he's oppressing y'all, which is weird coming from somebody like me. But I think that's where y'all would say we kind of have the common ground. But I think the difference that we would have, and I guess what we can kind of discuss, is that I don't think we should be joined to anybody. I don't think we should be. And when I'm saying join, I'm not talking about what we do economically or through commerce or anything like that. I'm talking about like our spiritual system is not the same. Our lifestyle is not the same. Our journey or life and time in America would be opposite of yours. So although it seems like we have a common ground, from a nation to nation, y'all would be an enemy to us, is how we would perceive it. Now, y'all may
white people are an enemy to you guys?
Absolutely.
All right. So why?
Well, I mean, where you want to start?
Well, no, wait, hold on.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ralph.
I like how it's going. Honestly, I thought about not even saying anything because you guys know me. I like, I kind of like hands off and let you guys to lead the discussion. But I will say, let's do it a little bit orderly here and let somebody start officially, and then we'll go.
Okay. Ralph's got a plan.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like you got a script. So we're gonna let him work his script.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Cool.
Captain. And we talked about.
I don't want to go first. I mean, I don't gotta go first. I
You know what? Fine. You know what? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Vince, go first. You go first. Now, the original idea of the debate.
Go first about what?
Vince
is. Go ahead.
I told you what we know what the debate setup is. Now, it's not.
I don't. To be honest, I was like.
It's kind of a discussion. So hold on, let me speak.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Kind of a discussion / debate.
Right.
And so the idea was your prescription basically for the black community and his prescription for the white community. Now we can take it anywhere we want from there, and we're kind of already getting into the different ways it could evolve the conversation, and I'm fine with that. But that is the setup. Now it's how close you want to stick to that. I don't really care. But that was the idea of the gimmick and the gimmick match, like the ladder match. That's the ladder. Okay. But anyway, so you can just start from there, Vince. And like I said, you don't have to stick necessarily right on that. You can say whatever you want to a certain degree, but that was kind of the idea here.
So I guess like his first comment was like, white people are an enemy to the black people. I was just interested in finding out like what he meant by that, or like how, like in what ways are white, and then also are white people an enemy to the black people more so than Jews are enemies to the black people?
Well, we wouldn't make a differentiation between Jewish and white people. I know y'all do. So we look at, from a biblical perspective, we look at y'all as like Edomites. So Amalek or the Ashkenazi Jew would just be a Duke of Edom. So we don't really make that distinction. So when we say whites, it covers everyone from a German to a good old boy American. So when we talk about being an enemy, we just look at our history of interaction with white people in America has not been kind to us. That's kind of me putting it lightly. So that's what I mean when I say we're an enemy. We was brought over here as enemies. And the struggle has been like oil. How do you blend oil and water? That's been the struggle between the black race and the white race. So that's what I mean when I say an enemy. I mean, if I start 1492, from the time y'all set foot on American soil. A quick question. If I was to ask you who was American, what would your answer be?
If who is American? I would say blacks are Americans. I would say blacks have been here for 450 years. Blacks are Americans.
So now,
obviously, unless you're like an immigrant from like Africa or something like that, recently,
right?
I would say that blacks are also Americans.
Now, if you actually,
as far as like Jews and white, Jews consider themselves non-white. especially when it's convenient for them. So
Absolutely.
I don't think it's just white people that differentiate between Jews and white. I'd say that Jews themselves differentiate themselves from white people.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you there too. Now, if I ask the Native Indians who,
So why wouldn't you though? But why wouldn't you think that they're separate?
Because the face of oppression looks just like you. When I'm saying you, of course, not you directly. I'm talking about like white folks. So the so-called Jewish man oppresses us just like the Irish oppressed us, just like the Spaniards oppressed us. So it's the same face. Like we don't. I remember Chris Rock made a joke one time. He said, "We ain't got time to call you a Romanian cracker. We just hate white people. Like we don't differentiate. we ain't trying to figure out what denomination of white you are. Our history in this place has been abominable. Like we've never gotten no rest. We've never gotten no ease. The tactics just change over time, and we fall victim to it."
What can like just,
hey, before you ask that question,
go ahead.
Hey, before you ask that question, if I ask the Native Indians who were the Americans, what would they say?
They would say that they are.
Right.
I guess it would depend on who you're talking to, but I would
Right.
assume that they would say that they are the Native American, which is not true, by the way. They're not native to this land at all.
What would they be native to?
Well, I mean, I would say that they probably came from Asia originally.
I have a excellent book, Vince. If you ever want to get into it, I just happen to have it in my hand. It just popped up out of nowhere. It's called "We Came from the East," right? Written by Capt. Tazaryach. Anybody can get this on Amazon right now, and it'll show you the historical documentation that would show that they did not come from Asia or the Bering Strait, like they say, but they actually came from what we would call the land of Israel or the Middle East, and came to Israel that way. Excellent book, though.
So either way, they weren't native, though.
They would be more native than you, though.
But why?
Because they were here first by 2,000 years. So see how you said, how you made the point to say blacks would be.
But native means from the land, doesn't it?
Right. But well,
so then,
well,
like, because someone was there first, it doesn't.
Well, I'm gonna give you the example. Your own words. You said black people will be considered Native Americans. I didn't say Native Americans would be considered Americans because they were here 450 years. It would be different if you was an immigrant or something like that. You wouldn't be that. So now the natives, reason why we call them natives, they would be the first ones that got on this soil 2,000 years before anybody else came to get on this soil. So by proxy, they would be more native than anybody else.
And then also, how do we know that they were the first here? Like, how do you prove that?
Well, say that again.
How do we prove that they were the first to come to? My office is so messy. I have garbage all over the place. I'm looking at this.
Yeah,
I just set up this second camera.
Vinegar over there.
Just garbage all over the place here.
Yeah.
So I guess the question that I want to go back to is what? So you say that white people, would you consider white people a bigger enemy to black people than Jewish people?
I would consider them the same, but I would put levels on it. So I would say you got Spaniards, you got the Irish, like the way you want me to break it down. I could probably break down which white nation did what to us, but all of y'all collectively as a tribe have done something to us. So the tribe of white people have done something to us. Now, what y'all did is the so-called Jew said, I'm better than everybody. So-called Jew said, I'm better than the average white guy. And so they chose to separate from y'all and say, I'm even above y'all, which is why y'all hate the so-called Jew. But to get back to my point, when they got a term called the space race, right? Are you familiar with that?
No.
Oh, the space race is those that got to the moon first.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
Right. Yeah. And the whole goal is that to claim land or to claim property so that they could say they are those of those people. So no matter what landmass you get to first, we know historically there hasn't been nobody on North American or South American soil before the Native Indians, the Mexicans, the Tainos that live there today. So they would be the original people of the land. But when I asked you who would be the Americans, I believe you were trying to be kind when you said me, because most people I ask, they usually say white people are the Americans. I've never really heard
wait,
nobody
most
say,
people you ask most people you ask
you ask who are Americans say it's only white people.
No, not that it's only
literally
white people.
most.
No. Not that it's only white people, but when I usually ask that question, the first nation that comes up is white people. I've never had nobody when I asked them.
Well, white people created America, right? White people built America.
They murdered Native Indians to establish America. They murdered the Taino. Like, and the reason why I'm saying it like that is because, of course, I said white people are enemy.
In the same way that whenever any type of land is colonized, that there's a war.
No.
So yeah, there was a war. There was a war fought.
It was an
land.
unnecessary war.
Maybe you can call it unnecessary or not, but it was necessary to build the country that we live in today, that many people want to come to from all across the world, that you're enjoying the benefits of yourself sitting in an office, being able to do a show, for a living with cameras and computers and all sorts of technology. It was necessary to do that, to be able to create something that great.
So like when I hear you,
but it's the same. Well, just let me finish my point real quick.
No problem.
It's the same. In the same way, we see all sorts of different empires colonize land and fight wars over, and across all different racial groups, by the way. Moors in Italy and Spain. You can go back to the Ottoman Empire. I mean, you could just go back through history and you can see that every time that a land is colonized, all across different racial groups, there's a war that's fought, and people have to die in order to win that war, in order to create the next empire or country.
Okay,
so
like, when you say I'm sorry, I thought you was finished.
It was a war. It wasn't just, it wasn't something that was where it was just like, oh, we just came and just genocided everyone for no reason. No, there was a war that was fought.
Well,
and there were treaties afterwards.
Okay, there's a lot that you said, right? So, but the first thing I want to point out, you said that the fact that I could enjoy electronics, it was worth slaughtering and enslaving.
I was going to ask you what you thought about that.
Yeah, like that's a weird. And this is what I mean when I say white people are our enemy. Like that was such a uncompassionate response to make that statement, to say that we have benefited because I could use an iPhone, because I could use a mic. So now what that means, my answer, so what happened was when we came over to this land, we knew that we was going to have electronic and gadgets and shit like that. So what we decided to do was murder the Native Indians who was not at war with us. The Native Indians, when you go in historically and you look up a book called The Black Indians, it'll tell you the Native Indians were at peace with them, and they were rewarded with murder. They were rewarded with Christianity. They were rewarded with Christianity or die. But all of that was worth it so that we can have electronics and live today.
So would you say that the world is
wait before you do that, before
without,
the part that you
go ahead,
because you brought up the historical that everybody had treaties as well. There ain't a treaty that the white man has kept with the Native Indians, except maybe gambling casinos. But when you go on those reservations, the Native Indians couldn't even come off the reservation. That's the whole term. He's off the reservation. I think Hillary Clinton got in trouble for making that statement about being off the reservation. So now where America,
I don't think it was her who coined that term, though.
No, she didn't coin the term. She got in trouble for saying, she made that statement. And when she made that statement, it was an insensitive statement to the Native Indians. My point in bringing that is, imagine having 100 acres of land, and then people come from another nation and say, no, you can't have these 100 acres. We're going to put you on a reservation for 5 acres. And then you can't even come off of those acres. But that was worth it, so we can get 4G phones and the internet.
Well, would you say that the world is better off with America or without America?
Without.
Would you say the world is better off with or without Europe?
Yeah, well,
or Europeans?
Yeah, without Europeans, yeah. I would consider Europeans like the virus on the planet Earth.
Okay. What evidence do you have of like what do you consider
a virus?
Like, okay, so So here's the thing. Here's the question: would you rather live in Haiti right now, or would you rather live in America, in the U.S.?
Haiti minus the Europeans would be beautiful for us.
Well, but
just like
how many Europeans are in Haiti? What's the European? What's the population of Europeans?
Let me stretch it a little further.
Go ahead.
The reason why I say that is because the reason the Haitians speak Creole or a form of French is because the Frenchmen came over there and enslaved them too. So that's why I say that. So when you say, wait, let me finish.
Go ahead.
So when you say,
go ahead.
Without the Europeans, I ain't talking about the Europeans at 22. I wish y'all never stepped foot on the land. Taino Indians wouldn't have to fight if they're Taino Indians today if the Spaniards didn't come over there and conquer them. The land of Mexico, the reason why they're even in that part of Mexico, which is the worst part of that land, is because the Spaniards and the Europeans came over here and conquered them. So when you say, will we be better without the Europeans, it's so much evident. There is not a place that the European has went to that he did not make it a prison house. So he made America as a prison house for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. When he goes into Africa, he does the same exact thing. When he goes into the Middle East, does the same exact thing. There ain't a piece of land that he has not. Even Australia was a prison. Australia was a colony that they sent all the prisoners to first.
The white people went there and made it like a million times better.
That's
just like true though.
That's where we have the indifference because the pleasures.
Well, yeah, now I'm noticing that. I thought
what
Ralph was like, you guys are gonna agree on a lot.
I'm
noticing the.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, Tazaryach. Now, his position is basically without white people, we wouldn't have the modern society that we have now with all these electronics,
Yeah, not just electronics, but like medicine, two-story buildings.
Wait. Y'all steal the medicine. Y'all did not establish no medicine. Y'all didn't establish electronics. Your very life came from slaves.
Who invented it?
Black people. Hispanic people.
Black people invented electronics.
If you go, I guarantee you, if you go into a hut in Africa, they can take care of medicine better than Europeans can. Can you get 3 like that?
I wouldn't disagree that.
And when you want to talk about inventions, I mean, you got to go through that Jack Daniels y'all love. That was a brother that did that. The
Jack Daniels was black.
No. I didn't say Jack Daniels is black because the culture. I'm mainly talking about y'all being culture vultures. So you have the slaves do all the work and then you get all the credit. So no, we don't need Europeans to flourish. It's because I think the greatest threat.
How's that working out in Africa right now?
Well, we're not Africans, so there's only so far.
I'm just saying, like any other country where there's no Europeans, it seems to be a pretty big shithole. It seems to be a place where no one wants to live.
Y'all left. If you take Gaddafi, when y'all bombed Gaddafi, if you look at Libya before y'all got there, look at Libya afterwards.
No, listen, I agree with that. But there's a lot of places. There's a lot of places all across the world where,
if you take America, before y'all got there, the trees grow. The Cape buffalo would still be alive if it wasn't for them. Water was clean. We didn't have the pollution. We didn't have the land problems and stuff like that. So that's why I reference Europeans as a virus, because there's nowhere y'all don't go that y'all use violence first and then try to be peaceable after you have destroyed the people, destroyed the nation. You take cities.
Foreign intervention. Listen, foreign intervention. We're not gonna disagree on. We're not gonna disagree on much. As far as foreign intervention is concerned. And as far as Libya is concerned, yeah, I mean, Libya, they took out Gaddafi. By the way, not white people behind that, mostly Jews behind that invasion and that overthrow. I wouldn't really disagree. Well, hold on, I keep letting you talk, but you gotta let me talk too.
You're right.
As far as foreign, but you look at these different countries prior to foreign intervention, right? You look at prior to slavery, prior to all of these different things that you consider atrocities, and the countries were far worse off. Those places were far worse off than the nations in Europe were, technologically, in basically every single way, right? You look at the Europeans going and colonizing. Well, hold on. You look at Europeans going to colonize these lands on massive ships with cannons and guns and technology that, you know, the quote unquote Native Americans have never seen before in their lives. Africans have never seen before in their lives. And so you can see that we didn't start that the starting point is different. The levels that we started at are different prior to intervention, prior to all of these different things. And so therefore, then you have to consider the idea that these countries are just better off. They're just better off with Europeans there and Europeans making them better.
No. Well, can you just give me some examples of where y'all went in and made them better?
Every single country we've ever set foot on.
Give me one.
And even in the interior of the country, you know, when they talk about like gentrification as like a bad thing,
it is.
Every time gentrification happens, it's the place that is gentrified is better off. It's better off economically. It's better off educationally. It's better off in basically all ways.
Can you give me some examples?
Well, Santa Ana, California, right? Half of Santa Ana, California has become gentrified over the past like 10 years. And there's less crime there. There's better schools there. Kids are doing better in school there. Literally every single place that has been quote unquote gentrified has been better off. And then the reverse of that is true as well.
What I'm asking you to show is how it was before y'all came, and then how it was after y'all came.
Okay,
like that,
so
that city
before
that you just mentioned, I'm assuming you said 10 years. So if it's 2022, that must have happened in 2012. Of course,
2012, the gentrification began.
So of course, as you mentioned earlier, we've been here 450 years. So can you give me a better history than that?
Describe how it was before we got there. Well, I can do it. I can do it either way. I can do it in the reverse as well. Detroit, right? Detroit, when it was mostly white, was thriving. It was economically, it was thriving. There was very low crime. And as the white people began to leave, now we see Detroit is crime rate. It's one of the most dangerous cities, not only in America, but actually in the world. St. Louis, another example. New York City, example.
Can you give me the time? So here's what I mean. I'll give you an example of what I'm asking for. I'm glad you mentioned New York City. New York City, there was a city called Seneca Village in New York City. Black city. No, they wasn't violent. No, wasn't committing no crime. Wasn't doing nothing. But white people wanted to expand Central Park. Seneca Village was in the way. So do you think that they allowed Seneca Village to stay there, or did they destroy Seneca Village to establish Central Park? That's a question to you.
Seneca Village, how do you spell it? S-E-N-E-C-A?
Yeah, S-E-N-C-E-A. I'm sorry, S-E-N-E-C-A. God damn it. Yeah, that's how you spell it. S-E-N.
So when was it mostly blacks?
It was all
1825.
Yeah.
When was it? 1825 by Seneca Village was founded in 1825 by free black Americans, the first such community in the city, although under Dutch rule. How do you know that there wasn't crime happening there?
Well, why don't you tell me if there was crime there?
I mean, look, we didn't really have statistics back then on crime rates. I mean, there was some, but it wasn't
here's what history does teach
as accessible as now.
Black people wasn't as violent to black people until integration infiltrated black people.
I would probably agree with you on that. I would say that probably, the black crime rate has only risen.
Based on you agreeing with that, then we can safely say Seneca Village was just fine before white interference to destroy and put black families in a state of despair so they can expand apart.
I don't think it was specifically because of white interference. I think that certainly it was, the integration. So you think that blacks are better off without the 1965 Civil Rights Act, right?
Yeah, they call it the eminent domain and destroy the whole village so that they can expand Central Park.
Now, what about what he said there? Are you
I didn't hear what he said. Can you say it again?
The civil rights movement? Are you
that was a death penalty offense to black people. I don't like civil rights. We didn't gain anything from civil rights. You got to put gays in there with the civil rights. It wasn't specifically like there's been nothing that specifically targeted black people that benefited black people. So civil rights was not something that really benefited us. It was mainly like sell out black people that thought it was better to eat a white burger or get a white job or go to a
So
white school.
we'd be better off with segregation, is what you're saying, right?
Statistically, yeah. Like, and here's what I mean. So if you look at before,
No, you're saying black people would be better off if the country was still segregated by race.
Yeah, because let me tell you what I know. Before segregation,
I mean, listen, there's a lot of reasons why, you're making a good argument there, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, history teaches us that. Like when you look at before segregation, before integration, black families were together. There wasn't this ramage of drugs that white people specifically targeted hippies and blacks to use. They had the hippies with the weed, the blacks with the heroin, specifically targeted. So they had all of these things specifically targeted to us. We didn't have that during segregation. Our educational system, where black people learned, Samuel Jackson did this interview where he said, and I always use him as the example, when he went to school, depending on what your trade was, they was able to specifically have you learn a certain thing. The teachers knew the parents. They can go to the parents' house. It was a family oriented before integration came. And then, of course,
I think most of America was like that, regardless of who.
Well, let me tell you the threat, though. Let me tell you the threat. The threat is always, and this is probably where we separate in agreements, is that we can live without y'all. Y'all can't live without us. Y'all can't live without enslaving, seducing, tricking, manipulating blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Because if you take Black Wall Street rose at a time where white people was going through the Great Depression, not Black Wall Street, and they burned it to the ground. They flew aircrafts over Tulsa, Oklahoma for the first time in American history. I don't know if it's happened again, except maybe this probably was before Hawaii, before then. And they did that because the biggest threat is that, and I'm gonna tell you what the threat is. You talk about 40, 50 years after us being free in slavery, and we're able to establish colleges. That's why they call them HBCUs. We're able to establish not only Black Wall Street, but we also established Paradise. It's interesting that you call it a white city, because I know Detroit was a black city as well as Paradise. You had cities like Rosewood, you had cities Seneca Village, you had tons of cities that was able to establish themselves, and so we became the threat. So if you let the black people alone, we'll realize we don't need to depend on white people as much, and then you'll realize how much you depend on us. And that's
so. What do we depend on black people for?
Every single thing.
Like, why can't white people live without black people?
Who's gonna if I give a historical timeline, who's gonna build the city? Who's gonna build
what city?
Any city. There ain't that's why I say historically. Historically, there ain't a city that's been established that ain't been on the sweat of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
But an example of the city. What city are you talking? Are you talking about in America?
Washington D.C. for example, it was a slave that designed.
Why? Because
I'm just saying, give an example. You say give an example, so I'm giving an example.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. The slaves built it. Benjamin Banneker was so goddamn smart as a slave. He designed it to trick the British so they wouldn't know the route to come into DC. Remember, he had to design it in a way. That's why DC is so damn confusing, because he designed it in a way to where the British couldn't find it. So when you say give an example of what we built now, now, yeah. So, but we couldn't live in the White House. We couldn't run the White House.
The White House was built by black people because white people enslaved black people build it.
Yeah.
But they could have very easily built it themselves.
Wait.
Like every other city was built by white people.
That's a weird thing to say when you didn't do it. Like I
didn't build any. I built a shed in my backyard once, but like literally every other city in America was built by white people.
I bet you Issacharite or a Mexican brother come and build that shed. He probably look at your shed like that shed.
We don't have any Mexicans where I live. Or there's like
anybody other than a European would probably do a better job. But you asked for an example.
I don't think so. The Mexicans do pretty shoddy work. That's why they're cheaper.
Shit.
They do it real quick though. They'll put a roof on your house super quick.
No sweat.
And some are pretty good, but
right,
it's mostly pretty shoddy work.
But Right. So now
it's cheaper.
you did ask for an example. So I gave
And
you
we
an
teach
example.
them. We give them the rules. We give them the blueprints,
them
and we give them the regulations that they need to abide by in order to.
You know what in history tells us? You guys are the taskmasters.
Because otherwise, it'd just be like a hut that's like a lean-to on a hill.
Going up on the skyscrapers, it was the Native Indians that were not afraid of heights that were going on skyscrapers and do that building for y'all.
The Native Indians built the skyscrapers in New York City.
Yeah. No. I wouldn't say that they built I'm not saying that we built every single thing, but this whole land was established by us. Y'all didn't do nothing but kill and enforce them to do it. The cotton companies. Shit, if you go even further, which you're probably going to say the Jewish people, but this is why I say it's all the same thing. The banks that are established today came from the transatlantic slave trade. Everything about America was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. There is no getting around that. So when I say y'all can't live without us, you can't. We're the ones that die in your wars, quote General Hyman, quote, we're the ones that die in your wars, fight in your military. We vote. We do every single thing y'all ask of us, and we don't reap none of the benefits.
So America back in like, I don't know, 1940, 1950, something like that. America was like 2% Hispanic. Now that number has grown to like 29, 30%. And a lot of states that were originally mostly white states.
When you say originally, you mean because like
I mean prior to immigration, prior to mass immigration, prior to the 65 Hartzell Act.
Okay, why don't we say it better? Prior to mass murder.
Okay, that's fine. Prior to whites very easily winning any war that they've ever entered into on foreign lands.
Yeah, I mean, y'all were blessed with the ability to kill. Y'all killed.
We were blessed with the ability to create technology that was far superior to any of the tribes who were hucking spears at our.
You see how we'll create technology for communication. Y'all will create technology to kill.
Do you think?
Okay, but hold on. But let me finish my point here real quick.
Okay,
go ahead, Ralph.
I was just gonna ask him. Did he think whites were inherently more bloodthirsty than other races? Yeah.
Hell yeah. The Bible say the wicked are strained from the womb. As soon as they come out, they think of who can I kill. So I would say yeah. Now I ain't exaggerating, but yeah, that's what I would say. Yes, I would definitely say.
All right, now go ahead, Vince. Finish your thoughts.
Okay. And if I could, shout out to Killstream. I'm amazed that they allow me to come on his show. I like Ralph.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We back on here. I agree. Go ahead.
Wait, Ralph. Are we Hall of Fame? Did I make the Hall of Fame?
I was just talking about it. We're gonna have to do a Hall of Fame class.
Did y'all ever have a Hall of Fame?
We do have one inductee in the Hall of Fame, and I wanted to do another class.
Yeah,
we haven't.
There's no way I don't get into the Hall of Fame.
I want to induct like 4 people. Actually, I want to do
it. Now, Ralph, you ain't gonna tell me. Ralph, you're not gonna tell me you got to get a bunch of white people in there first before you can bring me in, right?
No, I want to do a Hall of Fame class at the same time. I want you to be in the Hall of Fame class that I'm doing this spring. If you'll join the Hall of Fame,
I'll join that Hall of Fame.
All right,
what I give you, Ralph, you've allowed me to come and say whatever it is I want. So yes. I'll give you that.
I appreciate you coming on here. And I'm serious. I want to do the Hall of Fame induction in the spring. You and I have a few other people I have in mind too. And the way we did it last time is it was kind of a roast session. So people would roast the people being inducted, and then they would get how roast works. They get to talk shit at the end.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay, man, that sounds fun. Okay, awesome. All right, we'll do it then. And I've got a wrestling event I'm doing in January, so I was thinking like February or March probably for the Hall of Fame, just so I could devote some attention to it. But yeah, we'll do that for sure. Vince is another guy who could definitely be in the Hall of Fame. Now, what were you saying there, sir?
Me?
Yeah.
I kind of don't remember. I don't remember where I was going with that.
We did kind of divert attention there, so I apologize. Did you want to pick it back up there, or would you rather him pick it back up?
So I was saying, so as far as white people, I know where I was going with this. So when you look at different places, you were saying, well, you can't build anything without blacks and Hispanics or whatever. white people were the ones who were building this stuff before Hispanics were ever here. Okay, white people were the ones who were building this
Before
stuff
they
and
was
creating
ever
this
where?
stuff and creating these. Well, just hold on a minute.
Okay.
I'm talking about prior to the 1965 Hart-Celler here in America, prior to the mass immigration of mainly Mexicans, where we went from, you know, it was like 2 states that had Mexicans to like 30 states that have a pretty dense population of Hispanics in general. And it was white people who were doing this stuff prior to mass immigration. As far as Europeans are concerned, their societies were way more advanced than the societies that existed in the places that they colonized. And so we're talking about pre-colonization, we're talking about pre-slavery, pre-all of this. They were way more advanced. And so how can you say that white people can't live without black people, Hispanic
can you
people, if
explain
that's
in
the
detail
case?
what you're talking when you say way more advanced? Can you give like the examples? We was advanced
Yeah,
here.
I
when we
mean,
brought
just
this
look
to
at
America,
an
we brought
African.
this-
Just look at a picture of like an African village right now.
No. I'm not asking
Versus
for me to do anything. I'm asking for you to teach it. Like you making a state. Like you asked me to
yes,
give an example of what we
Africa,
did.
sub-Saharan Africa didn't have a 2-story building until like 1960. So
Now, did they have a need for a 2-story building? Like, did they need?
I don't know. I don't know
like,
if they had. You know, did they have a need for indoor plumbing? I mean,
Right,
I would
that's
say
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
but they didn't have that either.
So could we go back and ask them? Did having a 2-story building meaning they got to get raped and pilled and put in prison and chains to get a 2-story building? Is that being more advanced? Like it's because it sounds like you're saying we're killing them to make them better. But that's like if I rape
I
your
didn't
sister,
say that. You said that. I'm just saying that.
But how did they
every
get, so,
single
how did they get into those
place in the
how did-
world that Europeans have colonized have become better? Every single
But see
place
how
in the
you
world
keep
that
saying
white
every
people
place
have
in the
moved to
world-
has become better.
So see how you say every place in the world that white people have colonized. Colonize is a cute word, but colonize is a cute word for we go in there, we go to war, we kill them, and then we give the survivors our lifestyle. That's what colonizing is. That like when you go to the conquistadors, it was be a Christian or be a slave. And even if you chose Christianity, you still was a slave. So when you make the cute word of colonizing, that sounds cute. That's why I make a point to keep bringing what you really did. What you really did was murder them to get a 2-story building. So when I'm gonna ask you again, I'm gonna give you another shot. Show
Did it
me
make
how,
it better though?
How?
I'm just saying. Would you consider this what we live in today? Would you consider it better than
I would have
being
to-
in some third world country right now?
I would
that
have to-
hasn't been touched by colonization.
I would have to know what my life. Now, this is where I blame y'all again. I will
Like,
never.
do you like indoor plumbing? Like, are you a fan of like
I don't even know if I
shitting in a
would need-
toilet and like flushing it?
So I don't even know if that would be a necessity because for a long time.
I mean, it's not
before-
a necessity. I mean, you can
Thank
shit in the
you.
street.
I'm actually, 'cause you
especially in
can't-
like New York City
can't
where you
make-
live.
You can't, if your advancements is being able to take a shit and resurrect a 2-story building, then no, that's not an advancement. Whereas most medicine y'all get comes from us. For example, COVID-19, that was a black woman that came up with the COVID-19 vaccine for that. When they talk about heart surgery, that's a black person that did the heart surgery. So,
well, whoever
when-
came up
when
with the
talk-
COVID-19
eye surgery?
vaccine, if she's and
Eye
she's black, she's killing a lot of black people.
Who she's killing? Because the last time I checked,
All the people who get it.
more people are dying from the actual virus than they are from the vaccine.
Those statistics are completely doctored.
Wait,
You're trusting a white man's. You're trusting Jews' statistics, by the way.
Take the vaccine?
You said it one more time, bro.
Did you? What is your position on the COVID-19
My
vaccine?
position on the COVID-19 is my position on any form of medicine. You check with your doctor, you see what's beneficial for you, and it's your decision to take or not take. I'm not.
Did you get vaxxed?
Yes, I did. Now I'm gonna explain.
Were you like this before or after you got vaxxed?
Wait a minute.
Hey, it's funny that you say that because most people like me when I had my braids. That's more so the COVID. So like the vaccine for Capt Tazaryach for me myself is people like me better when I had braids in my hair. They mad at me for cutting my hair. That did more than the goddamn vaccine. And I only took the vaccine because of
how many?
Everybody tell. Listen,
How many vaccines did you take?
I
Let him
just took
answer.
the what's the shit where you got to do one and then I think like 14 days later you got to take the other one. Whichever one you had to take 2 shots. I took the 1 or 2 shots. Now here's the only reason I took it. Now I've never had COVID-19 since whenever it came out. Never had it, never experienced it, never did anything like that. I only took it because conspiracy nuts were saying this was the killer of all killers. Like the way they reacted to the H1N1, where they said it's going to which the H1N1 vaccine came out quicker than the COVID vaccine, which they tried to make it seem like the COVID vaccine came out too soon. It didn't come out. I mean, now I'm not a medicine expert, but what I do know is that the H1N1 vaccination was available in a shorter time than the COVID-19 vaccination, but conspiracy theorists have a short memory when it comes to that. So my position has always been the same position. If you feel necessary to take a vaccination and that's what you choose to do, check with your doctor. But now I would say the same thing if it was any medication. So that's my position on it. Now I didn't get. I'm sorry.
You took it because you're saying you took it because.
I took it because I wanted to help people that were struggling. Because I had some people come to me, they had specific ailments and they were afraid to catch the COVID, but then they're saying that people are telling they're gonna die if they take it. So I took it and I said I'm never dying. So as long as you see me alive, don't be scared of the vaccination. That's the only reason I took it. There was no.
Well, yeah, I ask about it because I know a lot of people in the black community did not take the vaccine.
Right.
Of course, I didn't take it. Reasons for not taking.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That I would say is a Jewish conspiracy, because all of them
What is
to not take it. So that
what?
Yeah.
Every Jew is saying to take the vaccine in the media. Every single one.
The Clubhouse audio went out.
Are we there?
I'm here. I'm here. They talking about me on the app that I'm using.
Okay. There's a lot of Jewish. Rochelle Walensky, the head of the CDC right now, is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going on and on and on about how the vaccine is 95% effective at preventing the spread of COVID. They said this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't test it. It's just come out now that they didn't even test it for transmission. And they've admitted to this recently that it doesn't stop transmission. Every single Jew in the media has said the same thing. Basically, every single Jew has said the same thing. It's the opposite of what you're saying is true.
No,
and why would you just like blindly trust because you think some black woman invented the vaccine?
If I take a leave, that's blindly trusting. If I go to the store and buy Dayquil, that's me blindly trusting that Dayquil is going to cure me and help me get better. Unless you're actually in the lab taking it, you're blindly trusting. You go to Wendy's and get a damn burger, you're hoping that that's chicken.
Yeah, but we're talking about something that's been tested over a period of years and years and years and years and years. Not something that came out in a matter of months and something that they were like mandating people to take.
The hysteria that they had over COVID-19 is the same hysteria they had over H1N1, and H1N1 came and went and nobody cares.
Yeah, and nobody cared, and nobody was forced to take a vaccine, and this was like worldwide.
Okay, so now
that's the
only caveat. That's the only caveat I'll give you. Is that COVID-19 was forced, but the one thing we can't
no one was locked down either.
No, but the only thing I will say is that people were actually dying from it and getting sick
from what?
From whatever, from COVID-19,
from the
actual sickness.
But here's the thing. But we don't actually know that though. We don't actually know that they were dying from COVID-19.
You know anybody that died from it?
No, I didn't know. I don't even know anyone that became
I don't
very,
know anybody
very
that
sick.
was close to me that died from it. But I know people that was close to me that had it, so to speak.
Yeah, I had it like 3 times.
Good Lord.
What about the conspiracy?
What about
and it's getting worried, and it gets weaker every time.
No, but you said not taking it was a Jewish conspiracy. What was I
know, but then another thing is that it's just come out now. Like there's an Atlantic article about this actually, where they say that 50% of the and this was supposedly their most reliable pandemic number, which they based everything off of.
Right.
They say that 50% of the supposed hospitalizations from COVID were actually people who were hospitalized who went to the hospital for something completely different. They didn't even know that they had COVID. They got tested at the hospital because they were making everyone test, and they found out that they had COVID. They didn't even know that they had COVID. And so that was their supposed that was what they based the lockdown off of. That was what they based everything off of. Vaccine mandates, and now they've just completely.
Nobody really talks about it anymore.
Yeah, no one cares about it anymore. They've dropped the vax mandates.
Why don't nobody care about it anymore?
Because the great wealth transfer, this was one of the goals, the greatest wealth transfer in human history, to transfer a lot of the wealth from the middle class to the rich, was executed. What they wanted to record with medical records and tracking and the universal digital ID and all this stuff.
They had the power to control whether people got sick or not?
No, I'm saying they had the power to control through fear the people, period. They had the power to lock down the country, which resulted in 65% of all small businesses. Well, just hold on.
Okay.
It resulted in 65% of all small businesses being closed forever. So we're talking about the wealth transfer here. It resulted in, I mean, we're talking about people who were maybe clean off of drugs, clean from alcohol, who had their treatment facilities closed, who went back, who ended up dying from that. They closed churches down. They kept the liquor stores open. This is just some of the results of the lockdown.
Stores open. Thank God for that.
They did. They closed a lot of the churches, and they kept the liquor stores open in a lot of places across the country.
They need to close all the churches, though. That's a good thing.
In addition to that, they also were able to scare the shit out of people, saying that this was a 15% death rate virus, and you have to stay in your home. And they were able to forcefully get people to stay in their homes, and then mandate them to get a vaccine in order to return to work. And now it's just all gone, and you're not like, this isn't like something that it's like that you question, something that you like think about at all.
All right, let him get in there. Go ahead, Captain.
I appreciate it. Everything you said is a conspiracy. The reason why I call that a conspiracy is because the reason why people are not getting sick anymore is vaccination does play a part in that. So it doesn't stop you from getting the COVID. It just helps you fight it off. So now they don't have to close down the cities and the zones and keep everybody separate, because now that they got the vaccination and it's not hitting as hard, now it'll be just like the flu. It'll be just
so
like.
How do you explain the countries that didn't get vaccines?
I don't know anything about
it. Lower COVID death rates and lower COVID. There's a lot of African countries, like a lot of Africa, were like, "Fuck you, we're not taking this shit," and they didn't take it, and their death rates were lower.
But we're talking about two different things now. You're talking about why didn't COVID spread as much? So maybe because COVID wasn't.
It did spread.
Maybe not as much to where they had to worry about that. I would have to look at those countries. I'm not a conspiracy.
It didn't just spread and stop. Well, look at the counties within the U.S. Look at the counties that are like Idaho, where I live.
Right.
Okay, Idaho has like the lowest vaccination rate. It didn't shut down at all. They didn't have. They had mask mandates for like a short period of time, but that was basically it.
Going to Idaho though.
And Idaho,
like who's going to Idaho? Hey, y'all, let's go to Idaho.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can do this.
That plays a part because according to what they say, COVID-19 is spread by population. Right. If New York City has if New York City has 1 billion people in it and Idaho has 25 people in it, y'all don't need a vaccination. I get it.
No, it doesn't matter. We're talking about per capita here. And anyway, there's travel.
I'm not talking about per capita.
Cross-border travel.
I'm basing what I'm saying.
Okay, Florida then. Look at Florida. They were probably the same as Idaho when it comes to shutdowns and when it comes to mask mandates and all the rest. And they had a lower case rate and a lower death rate, and a lower hospitalization rate.
After spring break, Florida's COVID cases went up.
But then they went back down again.
You know why they went down? Because nobody's around each other. Like this, according to what they say, they say, COVID spreads from everybody being close. That's why they have that, you guys stand 6 feet apart and stuff like that, or whatever the case may be. So a populated state will probably have more cases than an unpopulated state. It's just that simple. It's not hard.
Yeah, but we're talking about per 100,000 people.
No, we're not. You can't use that in this case.
You
can't use that in this case, because in this case you would have to speak about popular or population or the crowd. Like you take New York City. You ever been to New York? I'm asking you. You ever been to like
Yeah,
New York
yeah,
City
New
Times?
York, yeah.
You see how crowded that is? You can go to New York at midnight and it's like 12 p.m. That's how crowded New York City is. So if one person has it, it's very easily to spread because it's so clustered. Whereas you talk about your city, Idaho, you probably live 2 miles from your closest neighbor. Y'all don't need no damn vaccine. Or y'all probably ain't getting. I'm surprised you telling me you in Idaho. I'm surprised you had COVID 3 times. Like, where are you going?
Well, it's called traveling on a plane. It's called traveling in a car. It's called
so you
people
didn't get
travel.
I got
people
you. So
move
you didn't
around.
get it in COVID.
This is the reason.
So you didn't get it in Ohio. You got it from traveling.
I don't know if I got it or from someone else traveling. It doesn't matter.
But you did
the
not
studies
get it.
haven't done on this.
One thing you would say,
but
you didn't get it in Idaho.
I got sick in Idaho. I got sick also in Chicago, where I got it in Chicago. I also got sick in Idaho.
It's a populated city, though.
Like
you proving my point.
Actually, I got sick. Oh, well, actually, I got sick in a town that has like 800 people. So it wasn't Chicago. It was like outside of Chicago. And I caught COVID in a town that has like a total population of like 800 people. But this doesn't negate the fact that the studies have been done on this. And there was one really big study on this that was done, and it was a study of like 145 countries. Countries. They also did a study within the countries, within the counties of the U.S. And the results were that there was no relationship between the levels of vaccination, mask mandates, any of these different restrictions that they put into place. There was no relationship between that stuff and case rate, hospitalization rate, or death rate. So it's a total scam. And the fact that you call yourself woke or whatever, you think that you're awake, you think that you're, you think that you're. I'm not saying that you're like woke in like the left wing type of woke, but like awake and aware of the facts. The fact that you totally believe in COVID to the point where you got 2 vaccines,
I don't believe in
is mind boggling to me.
Okay,
so wait, you don't believe in COVID? Pick it up there.
Yeah, thank you. I don't believe in COVID, so I won't agree or disagree with some of the stuff that you're saying. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the leave. I don't believe in third flu. I don't believe in none of that. But if someone chooses to take it, I'm not going to tell them you're going to die if you take medicine. But the intelligent thing to do, like you can have somebody that can't eat certain foods because they're allergic. So what I will tell them is that go to your doctor, do the research, whatever works best for you, that's what you should take. That was my position when we first started the conversation. That's my position now. I only took the COVID vaccination is because I'm seeing all these black people saying y'all gonna die, y'all gonna die, y'all gonna die, y'all gonna die. So I'm trying to help them understand you ain't gonna die because I'm still here. I had an Israelite cat tell me, this a cat say he an Israelite. He woke to Vincent Jane. He a woke Israelite. So Vincent, I'm gonna give you that one. This Israelite I'm talking about was a so-called woke Israelite. I'm calling him woke on purpose to be derogatory. And he told me if you take the vaccine, when he said you're gonna die, Kadazai, 6 weeks. 6 weeks, you're either gonna die or your DNA gonna change. I'm the same person since I took it.
How do you know? How do you know you don't have blood clots forming right now in your chest as we have this conversation?
Listen, I know a brother that didn't get the vaccine, got blood clots.
How do you know you all of a sudden
doesn't help you get, doesn't make you get blood clots or make you not? And if I had a blood clot, I'd be dead.
Well, the blood clots form slowly. How do you know you're not impotent now? How do you know? How do you know your balls aren't shrinking by 1 centimeter every month?
Vincent, hey, Vincent,
how do you know you're not turning gay slowly?
He said not turning. Well, you can ask my wives that question. They'll tell you I'm not turning gay at all. I get more women. I get wives, plural.
Maybe we should get them on the phone to confirm. Has it shrunk?
No. And that's very gay, what you just said.
I'm just saying, you never know what people are having Bell's palsy, people are having heart attacks, they're collapsing.
This white man just asked if my rod shrunk. I would never ask another man if his rod. I'm going to make a clip out of you just because you said that. Somebody clip that on Clubhouse.
That's fine. Listen, I'm just trying to go through the different symptoms. There's a bunch of different symptoms. It could be anything. It could be, you know, your heart stops one day all of a sudden out of nowhere. You know, super healthy guy, all of a sudden you die of a heart attack.
Please, somebody clip that on Clubhouse so we can make.
You might want to get some. You might want to get a complete blood count. You know, you might want to go to the doctor and just do a couple tests.
No problem. I've taken physicals since then. I'm just fine.
Okay,
we're gonna keep talking about it? You want to talk
all
about
right. Listen, I'm just saying. I think your friend was right. I think your friend's right.
I don't want to talk about COVID no more. If you want to talk about my ride.
Are you feeling uncomfortable now?
Right, and then here's the funny part: he got COVID 3 times. I have not.
I said impotent.
I have not had. No, you said
how do you know?
That's what he said.
How do you know you haven't had COVID?
Maybe yours shrank.
How do you know it wasn't? Have you gotten sick at all?
I have not had COVID at all. I've never had.
Have you gotten sick at all?
Maybe like a slight, like a normal, like you know how like if when the weather changed, so you're used to the AC, and then you switch from the AC to regular weather, so you get like a little sniffle or something like that. But I haven't had nothing. But I've never had COVID.
How do you know that wasn't COVID?
Nigga, stop.
I'm just listening. COVID for different people is different.
At some point, you got to yield, and I think the yielding point was you asking me if my ride shrunk. All
right, now
he's getting a little personal about that. Maybe I detected the correct symptom.
Making fun of
me. Maybe I got the right symptom.
I don't know. I can't remember the last time.
He's like, this nigga knows.
You can't say that word.
He's like,
you can't say that.
I can say it. I'm free.
I can't remember the last time I've had a conversation with a man, and he said that. Ask me that.
Mate, I'm just saying, you know, I'm just going through the list of symptoms that I've seen on medical journals, websites, things that we've talked about in our show. There's a lot of different things that can happen from the vaccine. I think your friend was right. I think your friend was right about that. You should listen to him more.
When they said you're going to die?
Yeah, the one who said you're going to die or your DNA is going to change. I'm just naming the different symptoms that it could be.
Why am I alive?
You know, maybe it takes a while. It takes a while. He said you're going to die or your DNA is going to change. I think your DNA certainly changed.
No, I didn't.
Because that's what the vaccine does. It's mRNA. That's what it aims to do.
Okay, so now here's what will happen, and then we can get off this subject, right?
Okay.
Both of us are looking up online for this information. You said that mRNA changes your DNA. So you're going to find some article that supports that position. I'm going to find articles that support my position that says it doesn't change anything. Because
a lot more coming from the same doctors that have been bullied into saying that women are all men.
I want you to get
when they transition.
I want you to get the point of what I'm saying. You're going to find information to support your position. I'm going to find information to support my position. That's the whole reason why I said it's not against God if you take any medicine. The same argument we're having about COVID-19 vaccination. Have you ever had arguments with people that say you shouldn't take no medicines at all? Have you ever had those conversations?
No.
So you never had any well, okay. In my world, I've had conversations with people that say you shouldn't even take an Aleve. You shouldn't take an Advil. You shouldn't take a Tylenol. You should do natural births instead of going to the doctor and letting them give you that epidural. I believe
you also said at the beginning of this that black people do medicine better.
Let me finish.
Make better medical decisions than white people.
Let me finish giving you this point. You have people that say you should do natural births. Don't put the epidural because it has side effects or ramifications. And that's my point when it comes to the vaccination. Like, we can't isolate this form of medicine from any other medicine that there could be a side effect from. What you have to do, when I'm saying you, I'm not talking about you as Vincent. You have to do your research. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. Go to your doctor if you got to go to 2 doctors, and then see what works best for you in whatever you put into your body. That's the point.
So the doctors were literally bullied into
you see how I stretched it outside of the vaccine? You got to broaden your intelligence on this conversation. Because everything I just mentioned was not about the vaccine. I didn't talk about the vaccine.
No. We got it. I don't know how we got it in this conversation, but the doctors that you're talking about have been literally bullied into submission when it came to the lockdowns, which they now admit was a completely wrong decision because it caused more death than there would have been without the lockdowns. It caused more harm than there would have been without the lockdowns. These are also the same doctors that you're trusting who gave you the vaccine, who have been bullied into submission when it comes to the whole transgender stuff as well, which I don't know what your take on that is, but they're not even allowed to to tell people that they're obese anymore and that they should lose weight. These are the same doctors. These are the same doctors that forced the 1,000 or 100,000 doctors that signed the Great Barrington Declaration speaking out against the lockdowns. These are the same people that forced them into submission, that censored them.
You do realize I'm not talking about just COVID vaccination right now, though, right?
No. I mean, we're on this subject. You said at the beginning of the stream that Africans, Eastern medicine is better than Western medicine, but then you have just completely fell for.
I did not say anything was better. I did not say that. What I said was that we established or founded the medicines. That's what I said. But what I just said just now is that I prefaced it by telling you, have you ever had conversations where they tell you don't take no medicine? You said no. So then I proceeded to tell you how you got people that say don't take a leave, don't take Tylenol. And I started naming all those things because that's what people do. Let's take it off of medicine, period. You ever have an argument with somebody that said you should be a vegan and not eat meat? You ever have that argument?
No. I've never had an argument personally, no, but I've heard.
But I'm saying argument, not that you're arguing like we're having an argument technically. It's like a debate or conversation. So what I'm saying is, so you have people that say you'll live longer if you don't eat beef, if you don't eat chicken, so they become vegans. That's just what people do. But everybody's body is different. So you got some people that if they eat beef at a certain age because it digests longer, it's not healthy for them. So what works for them is to eat fish or to eat vegetables. Whatever works for you, that's what you do. But don't become a conspiracy nut and then get sued. What's the white boy got sued and lost? Alex, don't be a conspiracy nut like Alex Jones and think that every single thing is a conspiracy. That's my point.
So what is define conspiracy?
Conspiracy is you thinking y'all colonized when y'all really raped, murdered, and robbed and gave us, what did he say he gave us? Toilet? Said he gave us, he taught us how
literally
to shit.
everything that you
he taught us how to
enjoy
shit
using
in a
and
toilet,
make your life
in
better.
a porcelain toilet. That's a conspiracy.
The thing that you took two of.
The real truth is they were better before you brought them the toilet. They was better before you bought them the 2-tower building. They were better.
We gave you the vaccine that you took twice.
No, you didn't, because y'all didn't work on it. That was a black woman, so don't do that.
Oh, was it a single black woman?
I don't know if she was single. It sounds like you're trying to take a stab. Like I don't know if she's single. Do you know she's single?
The fact that you totally believe the COVID stuff just like makes me throw everything else out the window.
I don't believe the COVID stuff.
This is like
care about it.
You believed it enough to take the vaccine twice.
No, I didn't believe it enough. I'm gonna say it again. I didn't take it because I believed in it. I took it so that other people would not be afraid that actually needed or wanted it.
All right, let me call time on this because we could argue.
All right, go ahead. We're getting into the COVID weed here.
Well, I let it go for like.
Yeah, you got COVID 3 times, man. God damn. None of them started in Idaho, I guarantee. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ralph. I'm sorry.
Only 90% of the native Indians died from disease. They didn't have the immunity to such viruses. They had fur treaties with the French, with the United Kingdom, and more. They got land now and don't do shit with it. Just poo and pee on.
I will let somebody explain. I might stop here.
Yeah, you know how we got them diseases?
Oh wait, hold on, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, when you colonizers came over here.
Go ahead.
Oh wait, yeah, you know how the reason why the Native Indians got sick is because the Europeans brought diseases Native Indians had never heard of. That's how they got sick.
Now let me go back.
That's why we say virus.
Make sure I didn't miss any here. Okay, here goes one right here. Let me do this question for you, actually, Captain. All right, here we go. Let me see if it'll play it. There it is.
Neon Nicker sent $5 question for the Captain. What is the rank structure of the BHI? Do you have lieutenants, sergeants, generals, privates, etc.? How does one become a captain in your organization, exactly? Please explain how your force organization works.
What do you say to that?
That shit sound like the CIA trying to infiltrate my goddamn business. that sound like who the founder of CIA again? Who's the founder?
Fed.
I forget the founder of the CIA, but it sounds like he trying to infiltrate. But no, we don't have lieutenants, but we have generals, captains, officers. I'm also a priest as well. For any Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, we're only for those people only. You come into our school, you raise up in rank by the work you put in. You put in work, you get raised up. You do nothing, you don't.
Do you have to get vaxxed to raise up in rank?
No, vaccination is not a mandate.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad you said that, Kataza. Also, to the person that asked that question, we don't call ourselves BHI. That's a derogatory statement made by the so-called Jew. There is no such thing as a Black Hebrew Israelite. We're just Israelites. That's it. It doesn't like like to put a black on it is the colorism that we suffer from. Where you want me to read from?
I'm Jew.
You said you're a Jew?
I'm Jew.
You like the
not Jewish. I'm Jew.
No, you're not Jew at all. How are you a Jew?
I'm Jew.
Tell me how. Yeah, tell me how.
Because I'm Jew. Because I've been Jew.
How? Tell me how you been Jew.
I'm Jew.
Was you born? You was born Jew? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm the real Jew.
Tell me how.
We Jew.
But did you got to tell me? Like I know white. Yeah, I know white people like to antagonize.
How are you Jew?
1 second. I know white people like to antagonize and say things and like blurt them out. That just don't work.
I just hear Kanye saying that, and it's funny. We Jew.
Yeah.
How are you Jew? Explain that.
Wait, before I get to that, are you was you bullshitting or was you telling the truth?
No, I was
you was bullshitting, right? You know,
there's only one real Jew, and it's me.
Yeah, that's why we call a white man the devil.
Why? Why? Because we Jew? Because we Jew?
You impersonated the children of God. So when you ask
the Jews are impersonating the children of God.
You just
actually,
said you was Jew, so you was lying.
No, the Jews, the synagogue of Satan is impersonating the children of God.
I don't disagree with that. But you said you was one, right? But you,
I was just
but you was lying, right?
I was lying.
That's what the devil is, a liar. So anyway, when you ask how are we the Jew, is because when you go in,
you said you don't like indoor plumbing. That's a lie.
No, I didn't say that.
You said you'd rather shit in the street
than have you murder us to give us plumbing. When really it was the Moors. Shout out to Pink Elephant on Clubhouse. It was the Moors that actually invented the plumbing. So it wasn't even y'all that invented. Yeah, it wasn't y'all. Y'all don't know shit. So now again, when you make the statement you make, when you ask the question about how are we the Jew? When we talking about Jew, Israel, XYZ, the only place you can go to identify who they are is the book that talks about them, which is the Bible, whether some people call it Torah, Tanakh, Old Testament, New Testament. And when you go into that book describes and talks about a specific people, which are the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in North, Central, and South America, and those that are scattered in Africa, Europe, Asia, and the such. So we are those historically, biblically. You can go through history and see the Native Indians call themselves of the tribe of Reuben. The Taino Indians call themselves the tribe of Ephraim. They knew exactly who they were. If you go into Harriet Tubman, I brought this out. Hey, Ralph, I don't know if you remember when I was debating that. If I could sidebar, Ralph, did you watch the video I sent you, Ralph? The one I sent you with when I brought out the Hitler book.
Yeah, we played that yesterday, and we played some of the Halsey bit. Yeah.
When I put up your face was priceless. So everybody knows this history about who the real Jews are, except the real Jews, which are the Blacks, Hispanic, which are Black people. When I say it in that context, because
wait, are Hispanic Jews too?
That's what I was about to correct. When I say Jews, collectively, you can say Jews encompass all Israel, but Jew is just short for Judah. So only the Blacks would be Judah. The Hispanics, depending on what nation they are, is a different tribe. So it's 12 tribes of Israel. That's why you always hear me say Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in that regard. But to just double down again, I would rather shit in the backyard than get murdered to get a toilet?
Well,
Because again, so I'm gonna ask you the same question.
Murdered.
What have y'all done?
But I would prefer shitting in the backyard than getting murdered too.
But
to
you
be
just
honest.
said so. You
Like if I had to choose between getting murdered and shitting in the backyard, I would choose
shitting in the
the
backyard,
latter.
right? So now,
Yes.
then you should hate your ancestors.
Like if it was me myself getting murdered, yes.
Because according to you, the advancement y'all brought, if I'm not mistaken, was toilets and 2-story buildings. That's the
literally everything. Literally everything that we enjoy in first world society.
Give it to me. Give me an example.
Everything.
No, give me
everything that you enjoy
before,
that you take for granted in first world society.
Give me a before and after. For example, I'm gonna give you an example. In Dallas, Texas, I'm gonna give you an example. Dallas, Texas was a free town before gentrification. The freed slaves set up a successful city, but they flooded it with drugs and pushed them out. So what I'm asking you to do historically is give me the land and how they lived before y'all came, and then give me after y'all came and show me how y'all advanced it. That's what I'm asking you.
Yes. In South America, for instance, they lived in huts, shooting bow and arrows, throwing spears, walking around barefoot, shitting in the woods, wiping their ass with leaves.
But see,
now they live in houses with air conditioners and heaters. And
I don't think you can fathom what advancement means.
Toilets.
I don't think you can fathom what advancement. And here's what I mean.
Explain advancement.
I'm explain. You said that before y'all came, they was living in huts. They was, going to the bathroom outside,
eating each other, sacrificing humans. Yes.
Well, I don't know all the things that they were doing, but I'm just going to highlight what you just said. Shitting outside, living in huts, XYZ. If they were comfortable with that way of life, you have to show me how you advanced them, because remember, your advancement comes with murder, forgetting their religion. They have to now learn your religion. Their women being raped, their men being murdered and in prison, and now forced to build, and every crop they grow goes to that oppressor. So you have to show me how that's an advancement for them. What you're telling me is how what you don't realize you're telling me is how you've advanced by murdering Native Indians, enslaving blacks, enslaving the South Americans. All you're showing is how you've benefited off the blood of the people that are native here. But you're not showing me how they advanced by being under you.
So, let me just ask you a question. What was that Mel Gibson movie where it was like, what was it with all the Apocalypto? Yeah, Apocalypto. Would you rather a world like Apocalypto or a world like Daddy's Home 2?
I would rather a world without Europeans, so we can see what life is like without your influence.
Just like choose between the two. Would you rather Apocalypto or would you rather Fat Man?
Who's Fat Man?
Which one? It's another Mel Gibson movie.
I don't know. You have to give me a better example.
Okay. Would you rather a world like Apocalypto or a world like Mighty Ducks 2?
I've never seen Mighty Ducks 2.
All right, let me play the next super chat.
Come on, you know the question. Just answer the question. Would you rather a world like Apocalypto or the world that we have today?
I answered it when I said I would rather a world that did not involve you.
So you would rather a world like Apocalypto than
if Apocalypto means that we live according to what our tribe says, because I don't remember Apocalypto. So if Apocalypto means we live according to what our tribe says, I would rather that than to have someone that's not of our tribe come and force us. So for example, if I say we the 12 tribes of Israel, and we're living under the banner of what God gave us, the law, statutes, and commandments, I would rather live under that, no matter what the conditions are, than to have some colonizer come and imprint and force his. Okay, I would,
but that's Apocalypto. So you would rather Apocalypto over Friday too.
I would never know what Friday is if I don't have the murder. See, like what you can't. And here I'm gonna tell you something.
Just answer the question.
I am.
Okay, so yes, you would rather Apocalypto.
You don't. Here's why you don't like the answer, because you can't understand anyone's pain except your own. So a white person talking to a black person, my memory of our history is always going to be in conflict with your memory and your history, because you benefit. When I'm saying you, I'm not talking about you as Vincent. White people benefit greatly. You benefit from your forefathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Adams, and stuff. When I think about my history is hell. Black people don't even know their identity. So if I had to go back to being Apocalypto, you know what I would know being Apocalypto? I would know my name. I would know my ancestors' name. I wouldn't have the name Tyree. I would have whatever Apocalypto name goes along with it. That's the name that I would have. I would have my culture. I would have my land. I would have everything that your people robbed me of. So you can't rob me of something. It's almost like you enslaved somebody, you kidnapped them. Hey, who is that on? Is there somebody? Is that you? Who's that talking?
Oh, I've been hearing that person talking for a long time.
I just moved them down. So it's almost like if you kidnap somebody and keep them in a dungeon for 6 months, you keep them in a dungeon, you won't let them up. They all in total darkness. And then you let them up and let them have a cookie. They're going to love that cookie. That cookie going to be the best thing in their life, because all they know is the damn dungeon. And then after you give them the cookie, you let them sit on the couch. And when they sit on the couch, they see something called a TV. And now, because they see a TV, they're going to think that's the best thing because it's TV. But, had them in a dungeon for 6 months. So, of course, they feel like they in heaven because they got a cookie and they got the TV. But never in your mind could you fathom that they would rather be in a time when they wasn't in the dungeon, when they was free. And that's what black people strive for. That's why you see black people fighting. That's why you see Kanye West is a billionaire and still struggles like the average black man. He don't get called a billionaire. He gets called a rapper. That's what he said he hates. He hates he's a billionaire and hates being referenced as a rapper. He's a billionaire. Adidas' whole life got rejuvenated because of Kanye West. Right. All because of Kanye West, their life is rejuvenated. But he's still just called a regular rapper. He's still just considered a regular old black person. Because no matter if you're rich or if you're poor.
We agree on that. But save me with this or miss me with this whole we're a victim. We're victims, and so therefore we can't. Dude, if we're talking about slavery, every single race of people has experienced slavery during the Barbary slave trade.
You know who has never been
during the Barbary slave trade, people of European descent were still being bought and sold as slaves in the Ottoman Empire, decades after Africans were freed in America.
And instead
you had slavery happening in biblical. Slavery was happening all across the world. Colonization was happening all across. Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun.
Makes it worse.
The Moors in Sicily, the Moors in Spain. Colonization and slavery was happening all across the world. Well, hold on, let me finish this point.
Okay.
And yet, the only people that are saying that this held them down, and this is the reason why they're in this state economically, they're in this state educationally, they're in this state when it comes to crime and everything else, the only people that are claiming that are black people. When actually you look at all of the things that black people say were bad, like segregation. I know you don't think this. But as we move further away from those quote-unquote more racist times in America, the black community gets worse and worse and worse. The crime rate is higher. The out-of-wedlock rate is higher. So explain that one. Explain how that works.
Well, I'll explain that. But what I want to point out is I think you're lying about Europeans being put in slavery, but I'm going to use that as an example. It makes it worse that you can go through such a horrific event of slavery and then enslave another set of people and never let them free. It makes it worse. So now, when you ask the question about being so far removed from racism, I don't even know what you're talking about. Right. Because we've never removed from the face of racism. It's no different in 1920 than it is in 2022. Whenever we have
no different at all. Like not one thing is different.
As far as racism goes, no. As far as the black
racism against black people, I mean.
That's what I'm talking about. Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, there's no difference. But as far as the black community, though, yes. Because the game is still still the same. The tactics just changed. So when Gloria Steinem comes in the 1970s or whatever, and she created the feminist movement, where you got two kinds. You got white women rather that just want a job. Why did they?
What was your last name?
Why did they even want a job? Because the black women ain't they slaves no more, and they actually got to cook and do the work. They don't want to work in the house, so they want to get out. But what did they teach the black woman? They told the black woman that she don't need a man. They told the black woman that the only way that she can get housing is if she doesn't have the man in her house. That's what they taught her. And then what did they give the black man? They said, we're going to flood the black man and we're going to take away his ability to get work or to get a job. And we're going to flood him with drugs. We're going to flood him and make that the only means that he can actually get money. And when you take a slave and put him at the bottom, you're going to have some people that say, I'm going to do that. I don't make no excuse for it. I think they should have just not sold the drugs at all. But history is history. And so those two principles that started, I would say, statistically in 1964 and 65, the black household was becoming the #1 household in America per capita over white people.
#1 in what?
In America per capita over white people. Meaning that we were more together per capita. Of course, there's more of y'all than us. So,
based on what?
So if you pull up crime statistics are going to show that y'all commit more crimes than us. But because we're let me finish.
No, they won't.
Let me finish. But because we're a lower percentage of y'all, it'll look like we're more. And then the added fact of what y'all do is y'all put us on the screen. Sometimes we do it too. But y'all put us on the screen and promote us as the killers, the thieves, the stealers, and XYZ, when y'all are more stealers and thieves than we could ever be. But so when you ask the question, why are we so far removed, is because y'all created the drug epidemic, which I spoke about earlier, which started before Reagan. It started with Lyndon B. Johnson. It started with all of them when they targeted the hippies and the heroin for the blacks. So y'all changed the game, but the racism has never changed in America. I mean, I think George Floyd is probably the only guilty verdict we've had in years. Eric Gardner gets to go free. Eric Gardner's killer gets to go free. A killer got found guilty, and they still let him go free. No jail.
George Floyd shouldn't have been. George Floyd should have been in prison, and maybe he wouldn't have committed that crime. Yeah, I mean, he has like multiple felonies on his record. He should have been in prison, and it shouldn't have been allowed to happen.
Shouldn't have been a cop, and he wouldn't have put his knee on his neck. Why we got
the knee on the neck didn't kill him? It was the fentanyl that he took.
I tell you what.
And then the excited delirium.
George Floyd probably was a fentanyl user. Let's say if he was a fentanyl user 365 4 days of the year. But on that day when he was on fentanyl, a devil had his knee on his neck, and that's why he died. Even that shows you. Even that shows you don't have a lack of compassion.
After the multiple crimes that he committed, that's why he died.
Officer does not have the right to exact judgment. That's what you go to court for. That's what you go to court for. A police officer's job is only to arrest you in the name of the law. Bring you
and he tried to arrest him. And then for 30 minutes straight, George Floyd was crying, "Mama!"
George Floyd did not resist him, and you
are diving head first out of the SUV.
The more you, if you want to say something, just text it to me. The more you talk, is the more you're proving you're the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Can I
The lack of compassion that you're exemplifying for a brother that had a knee on his neck is why I said in the beginning of the conversation, we need to be separate from you. Because you are sitting here trying to say because he was on fentanyl,
you're
why
very
he died.
separate from me.
So
I'm living in Idaho. You're in New York City.
So I ask you a question. if
New York City has basically become like a black
if the
ethno
cop
state.
never puts his knee on his neck, is George Floyd alive today?
Yes.
Thank you. So then
No.
Then stop
I'm
telling
sorry,
me.
reverse of that. He died anyway. He would die. He would die some way. Maybe it wasn't the fentanyl. Well, just hold on. Can I just like talk for a second here? So with the two things. So with the George
in here, and then I want to pick up the super chats, and we'll never get through them all. And we'll want to take them too. So
well, I'm here for as long as you need me.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
The George, maybe he wouldn't have died from the fentanyl. I don't know.
He would have died period that day.
Well, just he maybe not that day, but he probably would have committed some crime where he robbed another pregnant woman and maybe he would have got shot.
So did the cop do a good thing? Did the cop do a good thing by putting his knee on his neck and killing him?
The cop did exactly what he was trained to do by the police force.
So you're trained to put your knee on the neck and kill him.
You're trained to restrain them in that.
So you're proving that the racism that you said was back then is still today.
Just like they did with Tony Timpa, who they say died of excitement. Well, exactly, you don't know because you've been tricked by the Jewish media that you supposedly say that you're woke on. Yeah, that's exactly why you don't know who Tony Timpa is.
I'm not woke. I'm not the woke guy.
Can I just talk for like a second here? So yeah, of course you don't know who Tony Timpa is because you've been fooled by the Jewish media that you say that you know all about. But you should look up Tony Timpa when you have a chance after this. On the TIMPA. Yeah, TIMPA.
Let me look. Go ahead.
As far as the black crime is concerned, yes, black people do commit a higher rate. They commit like 80% of the violent crime. They commit like 60% of the homicides. And when you're talking about statistics, that's what the statistics say. So it's the majority. And not only is it the majority, but it's also higher per 100,000 people. We're talking about 3, 4, 5 times the rate. And this is the reason why you have people fleeing.
What's the two crimes?
Sorry?
The crimes that you mentioned, what were they?
Violent crime and homicide. Violent crime in terms of robbery, rape, aggravated assault, homicide.
So when I look at when I go to the FBI website, it says violent crimes 209,848 committed by whites, 129,346 committed by blacks.
Yeah, and so where's the Hispanic category at?
The Hispanics, it has American Indian or Alaskan, Asian, Hawaiian. I don't see. Well, Hispanic or Latino is 79,701.
Yeah, and so then you have to subtract that from the white number, and you're going to get a majority of violent crimes committed by blacks.
So just so I can follow you, you want me to join the blacks and Hispanics together, and then join it?
No.
Okay,
no.
So again,
there's 3 different categories, right? Whites, Hispanics, and blacks. Right.
So whites, if you said that blacks do more,
they include whites in the Hispanic category.
No, they don't.
Right?
No. I can send you the link. It has.
Yeah, send me the link.
Okay.
Yeah, send me the link.
Hey Ralph, I'm gonna email this link to you if you can send it to.
No, just put it in the chat.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you should be able to. All right, send that link.
That's on this screen. I don't see no chat on. Oh yeah, I do. I see it. Hold on.
Yeah, just send the link and let me play a couple of these.
But just so you know, when you click that link and you go to violent crime, well, the table itself does not join Hispanic or Latino there. It's separate.
All right, let me play a couple of these and then I'll get that up.
And Ralph, I could have some people ask questions. They might have.
Sure.
Okay. So after Vince after Ralph do the questions, anybody on the stage on my platform, y'all be able to unmute and ask a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me play this. That's perfectly fine, John.
Pyramid Pilot sent $3.50. Vince, I love you, but the captain might have taken a W. Have a question for you, Captain.
Yeah.
Do you think of white people agreeing with your positions/movement? Do you only allow pretty white women in? What's the policy exactly? Thanks.
We don't allow no white women in. No matter how you look, we don't allow them in. But I do appreciate the comment, but we don't allow any non-Israelite be a part of our organization, just to answer.
All right, let me play this here. Okay, let me see. There it goes. That's a different.
That was funny as hell. Somebody clip that.
Thoughts on Marcus Garvey?
Thoughts on Marcus Garvey?
Marcus Garvey, I would say, is you know, he had the right spirit, wrong vision. Like even that red, black, and green was about black was for the Irish. Excuse me, black was for black people, green was for the Irish, red was for the native. I would prefer if he would have just eliminated the Irish from that. So I would say right spirit, wrong way that he went about it. That's what I would say about Marcus Garvey.
All right, now let's see here. Oh, I have to undo it. Sorry. Hold on. Let me do this.
Anonymous sent $3. Would you both be happier living segregated? If so, is that the only way to build up real sense of mutual respect over future generations? Thanks for the great stream, Ralph.
Thank you. What do you say to that, Captain?
I didn't hear it. Can he say it? Can they say it again?
Would you both be happier living segregated? If so, is that the only way to build up a real sense of mutual respect over future generations? Thanks for the great stream, Ralph. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
I would actually agree with that. I would agree.
What do you say to that, Vince?
I am segregated. I moved far away from any diversity at all in America. So yes.
So you agree? All right, now let's play. This is I'm only gonna let it play for a second.
I don't know why I keep getting kicked out.
Yeah.
I don't like diversity.
Confirmed.
All right,
Who is talking in the background on
my end? That's just people.
Yeah,
that's
your end.
just people ad-libbing. That's all.
All right, now let's see. Okay, there it goes.
Hebrew GB sent $3 for you. Tribe of Dan Nigga. What's really good?
Lord.
Thank you for that clip. I had to cut the musical.
Grotto sent $5. I ask all three parties, would you rather get gun?
Hey, Ralph, you gotta send me the link to what you use for your stream that plays back those statements like that. I like that.
You like that? You like
Yeah,
that?
you gotta send me that. Yeah, you gotta send me that.
Because Ralph runs the best program on any platform. Thanks, Vince.
I don't argue with that. I do love Ralph's platform.
Coming on the kill screen.
Thank you.
Do you think you dance better than Vince? Caption, would you come
I'm
to
not
Ralph and...
answering that question.
Thank
I'm
you.
not answering that question. Hey,
Thank you.
hey, Ralph,
All right,
if I could, anybody on Clubhouse, if y'all want to unmute
Sure,
your
it's
mic,
fine.
I'll take like 2 or 3 questions. Anybody on Clubhouse, do y'all have a question? Y'all can unmute now. But you got to hurry up.
Hey, I got a simple question.
Go ahead.
Since, excuse me, this is Pink.
Go ahead.
Since, you know, they assume or think or whatever it is that they do with their brains, that colonization or, you know, pillaging, killing our people, singing our language, raping our women, and so on and so forth is better. I don't see any complaints with the Amish and the way they live. They live with minimum electronics, electricity. They make their own clothes, have their own farms. They don't use regular transportation. They're using horses and so on and so forth, have their own schools, so on and so forth. And they're living pretty well. They're living pretty good. So when I look at the reflection of them, that's possibly how we would have been living. And it's not like we couldn't create our own technology and so on and so forth. What do you have to say about that? Do you think that their lives would be much better if they were colonized, pillaged, or whatever?
Akim. Did you hear the question, Vincent? I believe that was to him.
Yeah.
Right, Pink? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vince.
Well, the Amish are white people.
I'm
So
not
I
talking
don't
about
understand.
their skin color. I'm talking about the way that they're living. Since
What
guys
do you
really
mean? So
made our lives so much better with 2-story buildings, and you thought it was plumbing that you gave us, but you didn't. But what I'm saying is they're living the simple life and they're fine.
I mean, you're not really gonna have any argument for me as far as like a more like living more like a more of a traditional life. I think that there are some aspects of traditional living that are probably superior to, you know, this technological age that we live in right now. But I wouldn't trade my life that I have right now for the life of an Amish person. Would you?
Absolutely.
You would?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, maybe there's some black Amish out there. I don't know. Maybe you should go check that out. I mean, listen, like you guys are all like you and he's saying this as well. Like, why? There's plenty of there's plenty of countries out there that haven't been touched by colonization that you certainly can move to that, you know, are more along the lines of an Amish lifestyle.
I expected you to answer like that. Thank you. I yield.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? No sweat. Go ahead.
Yeah,
But
so,
I don't see anyone moving. There was one. I think there was one lady who wrote something about it in like the New York Times that she was like moving to Africa or something. She still hasn't done yet, or maybe she
So when you
has and
talk
came
about-
back already.
Yo, Vince.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Is his name Vincent?
Yeah, his name is Vincent James.
Check.
Okay. So when you talk about like Black Wall Street and all the other, genocide situations, so you saying that Europeans aren't wrong for that, or it's just an act of war?
No, I'm saying no. I don't advocate for. I'm a Christian. I would say that certainly killing, murder, rape, all those things are certainly wrong. But what I'm saying is that this is just a result of war. Wars happen, just like Attila and the Hun. We mentioned Attila the Hun. We mentioned Genghis Khan. We mentioned, all of these different places that have been colonized where wars have taken place, and this is just the result of war. This is just what happens during war. War happens. People get killed. It happens. Now, if you're going to ask me if I think that America is that the world is better off with the creation of the United States, I would say yes.
Say that one more time, Vincent. What you just said?
That the world is better off with the creation of the United States. The world is better, and these countries are better off post-colonization. I would say yes. And I would also say that people that non-whites here who assimilate into white culture, Western culture, are better off as well.
So
I got a question.
Okay,
I got a question.
Hold on 1 second. Kadazar, go ahead, Kadazar.
Vincent, fundamentally, you're a Christian?
Yes, I'm a Catholic.
You're a Catholic. Oh, so you guys believe in the Bible then. So then how do you feel that not only Jesus Christ is black in the Bible, but that in Revelations it says he that leadeth into captivity is going into captivity? So that means a black man is coming back to put somebody in captivity. Vince, how do you feel about those statements?
Blacks enslaved more people than white people did. The Muslims, actually, Muslims enslaved more people than anyone.
We're not Muslims, and you're not answering.
But I'm just saying that slavery was, forget the Jewish was black, the Jesus was black comment for a moment here. There's
you're not
plenty of different Bible verses. I am answering the question. He's saying that because Jesus said that in the Bible, that there was a verse in the Bible.
That's Revelations 13:9 and 10.
Okay. But he's referring to blacks who were slaves in the United States, and is now saying that now blacks are going to come back and enslave whitey because this happened. No, what that's saying is all slavery is wrong. Slavery is wrong, which it is, but it doesn't negate the fact that blacks were enslaving people, Muslims were enslaving people. The Muslim slave trade, the Arab slave trade, was the biggest slave trade in the history of the world.
Yeah, we hate Arabs.
And it's still happening right now.
But
like in Libya right now, there are Arabs that are castrating and enslaving Africans right now as we speak.
But based on that verse, wouldn't you white people have to go into slavery too? That's
white people were slaves.
That's not answering the question.
That's a future prophecy.
So
y'all
are the last ones.
Everyone experienced slaves. Everyone was enslaved. Everyone was the enslaver. So if you're saying that this is going to be repercussions for slavery, like how do you know which slavery they're talking about?
That's an excellent question because it's based off of who the children of Israel are. And I asked you, how do you feel about Jesus Christ actually being black, who is a Jew, an Israelite?
Right.
I don't think Jesus was black.
No, I think you kind of missing the point. He said Jesus.
I'm not.
He said Jesus was a Jew, which is an Israelite.
And the Bible says that Jesus is black.
That's what it says.
So I asked you, how do you feel about that? You're saying you don't
The
believe
Bible also says that Jesus was fair skinned. Like there's so many different like
where's that at?
What is the fact that
wait. You're not gonna let that go
there
over the top.
are many different
Where does it say he was fair-skinned? This book chapter verse.
Jesus was not black. Okay, he was not black like the captain is
I don't care about black. Show me where he was fair-skinned.
I can't point you to a specific part of the Bible.
That shit
But-
ain't in the Bible.
But what is the point? Well, what is the point that you're trying to make? Jesus
You
was
said,
black, and so
how do you
therefore
feel
whitey's
getting
going to
ready
be
for
enslaved.
slavery?
I don't know what the point. I don't know what
Well,
point you're making here.
Just to quantify, it would just be that further that you guys are just the number one culture vultures on the planet because you're claiming to be a Christian. You can't even quote the Bible properly. You're stating things that you can't even quantify in the Bible. And then outside of that, Jesus is black in the Bible. And if so, y'all got a serious issue.
Why?
You have a serious issue because of that.
Why do we have a
that-
serious issue if Jesus was not white?
I got you, because if Jesus is black and you oppressed his people and he's coming back, as Revelation says, with a vesture dipped in blood, that means whose blood do you think he's coming to put on that vesture, my man? Like whose do you think is going into captivity?
I'm pretty sure Jesus was talking about the Jews when he's talking about people being enslaved.
No, I'm pretty sure that he was talking about the other nations
Right.
because that's all through.
He was talking about Africa? Wait, Jesus was talking about Africa? Can you point me to a verse that says that?
Listen, the Africans are just as culpable as you in the slave trade, so you talking to the wrong people.
Right.
You should understand the audience.
Okay. But you're saying Jesus was black, and he was talking about black people being enslaved, and so therefore whitey's going to pay because that's what the Bible says or something like that. So can you point me to a verse that actually says that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're saying, oh, I didn't come, I'm a Christian and I can't quote a specific Bible. Please point me to a verse where it says Jesus was black and whitey's going to pay for the Africans that were enslaved in the United States.
Okay,
during
the latter
transatlantic
part he
slave trade.
answered already. That's why he read Revelations 13, 9, and 10.
So not only did I read that, but here's the thing too, and this is for all and this is not only for our audience for Killstream. I just want y'all to see that like y'all great white hope here, you know what I'm saying? Like can't prove what he says, but I'll do what the white man couldn't and actually read a verse for you. So when you go and you read the scriptures, right? This is Revelations 2. And it says, this is verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. Which nations are those? The nations outside of Israel. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I am received of my Father. And now this is directly paired up with he who leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, because these nations have oppressed Israel. So now I can go and inside the Bible prove what I'm saying substantively. It sounds like the Catholic Church failed you.
Okay, so what you're claiming though is that white people are going to pay for the transatlantic slave trade.
Correct.
Not
based
just
on
white
that
people,
verse.
Yeah, and just so
It
you know,
sounds like, but it sounds like that. It sounds like it's addressing slavery more broadly, doesn't it?
But just so you know, right? Like this conversation has been more geared towards black and white. The Arabs built the slave ships and had a whole Saharan slave trade.
Right.
You understand? The African tribes were also involved in this. So it's not to negate them. But here's the thing, though. It wasn't, you understand, the Africans that stripped us of our identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't the Arabs either. It was y'all who continued to oppress us. And since 1492, since Columbus sailed the ocean blue, y'all have been the devil that the Bible speaks of and continue to oppress us every single century, which is why the emphasis gets put on
But
you.
hold on, but you gotta prove that. You gotta prove, but you have to prove that he's that verse specifically is talking about white people. That's what you have to prove, because it sounds like it's addressing slavery more broadly. It sounds like it's addressing slavery in general terms.
Are white people a nation?
No.
No, white people aren't a nation.
What are they then?
So America wasn't
There are
fundamentally
different-
a white-founded nation?
It was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so you're trying now.
So you're saying that Bible verse is talking about America?
Excuse me?
So you're saying that Bible verse is referring to America?
I
is what
said
you're saying.
it said the nations. I just brought up one nation that was implicit inside of this.
It's
Okay.
nations,
There's
plural.
Right.
also
So there
also
after.
have, listen, you also
but hold
have
on.
England.
No, but hold on, because you have to give me a chance to talk here. So
You cry a lot.
what I'm saying is that you're reading this Bible verse off, and you're saying that now, white people have a problem because Jesus is talking about white people, and now, white people are going to be enslaved. But it sounds like that verse is talking about slavery broadly, and many people were being enslaved, and many people were the enslavers throughout the history of the world. Black people, white people, Arab people, it doesn't matter. Everyone was slaved. Everyone was a slaver. So why then do you think that that is like a damnation for white people? Like how do you
and I'll
Go
be
ahead.
brief as to not monopolize Captain Tazaryach's time as well as I'm sure you understand Ralph is over there trying to move forward. But
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Just to make this as simple as possible, because when you read Revelations, the 13th chapter, it's directly paired with Daniel's vision. And Daniel's vision was speaking of the empires which were to come. So that's a direct reference to the Roman Empire and the continuation of every single empire which came out of Rome, which would be nations like Spain and France and Portugal, so on and so forth. And then the 10 horns would be the nations that came out of those, like Australia and Denmark and America. So prophetically, it only fits your people in context. That's why I put the emphasis
but
on
why
you.
wouldn't it fit like the African kings who sold the Africans to the white man, or it wouldn't fit the Muslims who enslaved Europeans, people of European descent? Why wouldn't it fit the Muslims who enslaved
Africans? I say
Africans?
that they're culpable in this, but I just gave you the context as to who the dragon was in Revelations 13, and as to why the
Okay,
emphasis
so it includes
is put
black
on you.
people, is what you're saying as well. It includes you.
No, it includes
So you have a problem too.
No, I have no problem, because this is the patience of the saints.
I think what you confusing when you keep saying black people, I think you think Africans and us over here in America are the same people, and we're not.
People of African descent.
No, but we're not people of African descent. That's right. That's the problem. That's why
You're a Jew.
We're Israelites. So when you make that statement to try to make us all the same, just because we have dark, East Indians got dark skin, they ain't black.
Yeah, well,
so don't put us in that melting pot.
Differentiate between East Indians and Africans.
Don't put us in that melting pot of just because we have melanin.
Oh, I'm not. I'm 100% not calling you Indian. That's for sure.
No, but you are calling us African. You are doing that.
I'm saying people of African descent. Yes, you are of African descent.
We're not of African descent. If you take Charlie's,
when you said your identity is, when you said you were completely confused about your identity, you 100% are.
I'm not, though.
That's not a joke.
When I say we, I was talking about black people as a whole. There's a difference. So, like, for example, Charlize Theron is considered a South African, but she's white. You get the point now? Just because you're born in a land doesn't mean Chinese people in Africa are still Chinese. Just because we were sold from Africa because we migrated into Africa does not make us the same people. So it wasn't Africans selling Africans. It was Africans selling the children of Israel. But if you were actually intelligent on historical or biblical references, you would know that. But that's why you make the statement to say it covers us too. It don't cover us at all. That's why that verse says, here is the patience and the faith of the saints, which are Israelites. So we as Israelites, we could never be African ethnically. We can have African citizenship, just like Charlize Theron can have it. All right. So Ralph, I know you probably want to get back.
Do you think that Israel and the people of Israel looked like you?
Yes.
In biblical times.
Yes.
You think they were like super dark skin?
If you're looking at the screen, are you looking at the screen? Do
I am.
Dark skin?
You're pretty dark.
No, I'm pretty dark.
I mean, you're not like as dark as like.
This is why we hate white people, because that was racist.
Am I pretty light skinned? I'm pretty light skinned, right?
I've never been confused with pretty dark. You wonder why
am I light skinned?
Listen, you wonder why we call a white man the devil, Vincent? Because because you just said I was pretty dark.
You're pretty dark.
Now,
I mean, you're not like
talking to like. If I was talking
you're not like Jaden Smith, like light skinned.
But
I mean, you're darker than Jaden Smith.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
But you the proof that
unless it's your lighting.
Devil. You definitely the proof of that. So when we talk about even the terms black and white is what you created. When I'm saying you, I'm not talking about Vincent.
Okay, do you think that so you think that people of Israel look like you? We're the same skin tone as you?
No, because I'm not the only skin tone. We come in many different shades of brown, but we were definitely not Caucasian looking. We weren't many different shades of that. That's what we were not. That's why you can see.
I would agree. I think that the people of the Middle East in biblical times probably looked more like what we would describe as like an Arab person.
Salakia,
but certainly not
down with the white folk.
like you.
Whoever says Salakia, hold your peace 1 second. So when you say like an Arab person, right? You just don't want to give it up that they could look like us. You want to give it to the Arabs. When there are many different,
I would say like North African.
Like Jeremiah 12th chapter says, my heritage is as a speckled bird. A speckled bird has many colors. So we don't suffer from colorism. So it doesn't matter if you pitch black or if you're what we would call in the black community a red bone black. You're still the children of Israel. But what I do know is that that picture that they say is Jesus Christ is not Jesus Christ. That's a lie. That's Cesar Borgia. That is not the image of Christ at all. That's what I do know. His father wasn't.
Would you say Jesus Christ more like
Christ's father didn't look like that. Joseph didn't look like that.
Would you say Jesus Christ looked more like Assad?
I don't know who Assad is.
In Syria, or would he look more like Kevin Hart?
I would say he
who would he look closer? Like just
I would say he
just
would
answer
look
this
like
question.
average. Okay, go ahead.
If you were to choose who Jesus Christ looked more like, do you think he would look more like Ice Cube or more like Assad?
My blackness wouldn't answer that question, but I would say he would not look like that image that your ancestors said he looked like. That's what I do know. He does not look blue-eyed, blonde hair, pale face. He does not look like that.
But would you consider? Do you think that he looked more like Bashar al-Assad, or did he look more like?
If you think about when you say how much better it is without the European, you see how you agree that he don't look like that image, right? You agree with me there? Yes or no?
I don't think that he looked. No, I don't think that he looked like that. I don't know. I've seen different accounts. People have sent me stuff.
So wouldn't that make the white people?
I don't know about blue eyes, but I think he definitely looked more like.
No, I don't care what you think he looked like. But the image that they say, they say Jesus Christ, would you say they're liars?
Wait, what?
The people that say that he looks, the common image of Jesus Christ. Would you say the people that created that?
I think it's closer to the truth
hear the
than
question. You got to hear the
question.
You got to hear the question.
No, I wouldn't call them liars.
Why wouldn't you call them liars?
Because I think that from a lot of stuff that I've seen, I think that there's more evidence on my side, just like the crime statistics that we're about to get to. I think that Jesus Christ looks more similar to Bashar al-Assad than he did.
I'm not even concerned with so much. I'm not trying to get his actual skin. So like if I read Revelations 1:13 or Daniel's 10:5-6, it said he had skin and bronze as if it burned in the furnace. So I'm not trying to get into his specifics, but what I do know is that he did not look like that pale-faced devil that they told us Jesus Christ was. And now I'm gonna ask you a rhetorical question. Do you know why they would not make his image look like what it was biblically? Do you know why?
Why?
Because a white man would never serve a nigger God. That's why. He would never serve it. He would never serve a king that did not look like him. But y'all was so cunning and devilish, y'all taught us to serve a king that did not look like us. An Arab is not going to serve a white king. A Chinese is not going to serve an Arab king. But y'all in your devilishness have convinced blacks and Hispanics to serve a white king. And that's why y'all won't. So y'all portray to love the Bible. But when you go into the Bible and it say the Jews are black, the word nigger or niger is in the Bible describing the disciples, which just means black. So the Israelites were black when Paul was described as an Egyptian, which is black. You're never going to bring that out because you're not going to serve black leadership ever. So you will give us images, which they call the Renaissance era. The Renaissance era is when y'all came. A good book, Vince, that you might want to get. It's called The Russian Icons. And the Russian icons is they tell you that these images that
a good book that you should get is
what
called The Color of Crime.
No problem. A good book you should get is called Don't Interrupt Me in My Speech. So now in that book,
listen, I've been letting you go on and on and on about Jesus was black and white people are going to pay because Jesus was black and we the Jew. I've been letting you go on and on and on.
I appreciate it.
You can talk. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. So now in that book called The Russian Icons, it'll tell you that this survived all of the whitewashing. So the imagery y'all portrayed is Jesus is white, God is white, Abraham. When remember in the beginning, you wanted to make a differentiation between Jewish people and white people like yourself. But in the Bible, you do love Jesus, right?
I would say this. I think Jesus looks closer to me than
but you love Jesus, right?
That's for sure.
Do you love Jesus?
That's for me. I do love Jesus. No problem. And you're talking about bronze skin color. Bronze skin color. You might want to look up what bronze skin color means.
Would you love Jesus if he was a black man?
Yes, I would.
He lying.
I would love Jesus if he was a black man. Jesus Christ was the Son of God, and again, you're talking about bronze skin color. You've been going on and on about bronze skin color. Bronze skin color. You might want to look up what bronze skin color means. And again, I think Jesus looked closer to me than he did you.
I have pennies.
And we can move on from this if we want to get into the FBI stuff. Or if you want to keep going on.
But I do have pennies.
About this.
Anybody get a penny that's bronze? Just get a penny. If anybody want to know what bronze is, just get yourself a penny. It's all right.
Now, a brand new penny? Because if it's a brand new penny, then it definitely looks more like me than it does you.
You could never be brown a day in your life unless you had a black mother, like Bob
Bibble,
Marley.
wait a second. I'll bring you in a second. I have to play.
I'm 2%. I'll have you know that I'm 2%. I'll have you know that I'm 5% African, actually, and that's why I can say the N-word.
Definitely ain't my brother. You said
Bibble,
did you say Bibble?
I'm
Jew.
Jew.
Did you say Bibble? Did you say
Yeah,
Bibble?
Bibble's here. Bibble's
What's up, Bibble? What's up, Bibble?
Yeah. He said you're
pennies. Yeah, pennies are copper. Wait a minute. That's right.
Bibble.
Pennies are copper anyway.
That's my point.
Pennies are copper.
All right, go ahead, Bibble. I'll let you get in now.
Go ahead, Bibble. I remember.
Point,
What's
chat.
up, Bibble?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm good to go. Wait, that's Bibble? This ain't on Clubhouse, right? Nah.
No, that's Bibble.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bibble.
Go ahead, Bibble.
Bibble. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the burnished bronze because it says burnished bronze that has been made to go in a furnace, which when it does that is more of a gold color. So I can't really get in line with that. And when they're describing the hair, it's clearly meant to describe the color of the hair as white.
Anybody can have white hair though.
Jesus look like.
Yeah, anybody can have the white hair. When anybody gets, I got a couple white strands in my hair. I'm scared to let it grow out. Anybody can have white hair, man.
Myself, yeah.
Yeah, goddamn. What do we talk about here?
Yeah, exactly. I don't really think that's a good description of what he looks like when you just say burnished bronze and you leave off.
I didn't use the term burnished bronze. I just said bronze. I never put the
It
burnished.
was some other guy that called in.
But when it says burned in the furnace, when you burn the bronze, it does get darker. I know you want to think of the past tense. I'm screaming while the process is happening, but when it's over, it's actually darker.
Yeah, I guess there's an argument that is he talking about.
That's why he asked. That's why even Vince said, "Is it an old penny or a new penny?" Because even when the penny gets older,
pennies aren't bronze, by the way. Chat pointed that out. They're not even bronze.
Yeah, they're made out of copper. But
they're copper. Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. But what's your question, Bibble?
But it doesn't matter, does it?
Go into captivity. But the thing is,
okay, Bibble, you trying to be Israel? Bibble, you black? Bibble, you black?
I don't say what my race is, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. You one of them. All right, I understand. Go ahead, brother. What's your I can't even know if I can say brother or not. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ask your question.
Well, I prefer people to listen to what I say rather than think what I look like.
Okay.
So, what is your opinion on that? He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. What do you think that means?
I believe that means, so Revelations is something that's going to take place in the future, not something that took place back then. So the he that killeth, the he that killeth with the sword, the context is the captivity part. You can't put somebody in captivity without first killing them with the sword. So they go hand in hand. So you can't isolate one part and not put the other part. So when you read Revelations 13:9 and 10, it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. He is the patience and the faith of the saints. So the patience and the faith of the saints is praying for the day when we get vengeance from the enemies that killed us and put us in captivity. You can read that in Psalms 149 when it says, let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the kings, to bind their nobles with fetters of iron. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. So that's something that would take place at a lot of times. So in this captivity, there's only one nation predominantly that has led us into captivity and killed us to do it. So that's what I think of that verse.
And that would be the United States.
Yeah. Well, like when we talk about the so-called white man, he's the dominant person. But like Capt, as I was mentioning earlier, the Africans played a role, the Arabs played a role. They all play a role.
But that's not even true, though.
Yeah, it is.
The white people were not the white people did not enslave Africans the most. That's not true.
I never said anything about no most. You got to stop adding words.
Okay, dominant, whatever word you want to use. The dominant, you said the dominant, so that means the most. That means the majority.
Devil, but when I hear you say that,
no. When you say they're the dominant, they're the ones that are culpable the most. That's what you mean. When you say dominant, that's what you mean.
But
you mean the most. You mean the majority. You mean more so than anyone else.
Let me explain why, so you can stop.
No, you can't explain why. Because number one, you're
like
double vaxxed
right now.
You're already retarded. Number two, you misquoted crime statistics, so you're double retarded. And number three, you think,
No, he can't even speak.
Muslims, Arabs enslaved more Africans than white people ever did, and it's not even close.
So again,
you're just like lying over and over and over again.
I'm not lying at all. The reason why I said we talk about white people the most, since I got to expand for the white man who thinks he's intelligent but not that intelligent, is because that's who oppresses us every day. The Africans are not oppressing us like you are. The Arabs are not oppressing us like you are. Did they play a role? Yes. But every day when we wake up, we are systematically targeted. Kanye West is an example. He's a billionaire. He don't bother nobody.
You're systematically targeted by other black people.
No, we're not.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
That's a big.
The ones who are systematically targeting you are other black people.
That's why historically,
no.
we can pull up how Ronald Reagan and them specifically targeted black people to get them hooked on heroin, and it was called heroin up until white people got addicted to heroin, and then it became the
Ronald Reagan. Then
it became the
opioid. Because of Ronald Reagan that blacks commit crime and destroy their own communities.
No.
It's because of Ronald Reagan that damn Ronald Reagan with his damn heroin.
That's right.
And all this heroin that we're smoking.
That's right.
Which, by the way, do blacks even use heroin at a higher rate than white people? I don't think so. It's because of that damn heroin that blacks, have.
You don't have to take Vince's word. You don't have to take Tazaryach's word. But all you got to do is take, who's this gentleman I'm about to read? The War on Drugs. I don't even know how to say this German's name. Erikman, who died in 99.
German?
He the one that said the Nixon campaign in 1968 said, we knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or blacks, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and the blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily. So when I say that y'all targeted black people, Y'all targeted us on a CIA
Dude,
level and a
first of all,
government
blacks-
level. You can't deny
First of
that.
all, blacks love
and the
crack
fact that you're
way
defending
more.
the fact that you're defending it is the proof. I can go further, and there's a good.
It wasn't
there's
because of
another
heroin,
book. There's
and
another
it-
book called. There's
but
another
here's
book.
the thing, it
one
wasn't
second
because
before
of-
you go. There's another book called "The Black Image in the Minds of Whites." I don't know if you ever read the book or not. It's a 100-year study that is written by George F. Fredrickson. And when he wrote that book, he showed how slavery is the parent of vices. So now you take a nation that you oppress, you won't let them get a job, you separate them from their homes, you oppress them, and then you give them a drug. And so now they think, how do I cope with day to day? And Vincent, you're such an oppressor that you can't even say, I can understand how they would feel like they can't get over. I can have some compassion to the condition or plight of Black people. You look for ways to blame Black people, and you wonder why we won't look at you as the problem and who we should separate from. I guarantee you, the day that Black people and white people separate, you'll see just how much y'all need us more. We do not need you.
White people were separate from black people for a long time, for a very long time, and they were far better off.
How long?
Then because you already went on.
I just want to know what time period. All I want to know is what time period you're talking about.
I'm talking about any time when there was segregation. When there was segregation,
so you're talking about in America, right?
The cities that hold on a minute.
I just want to know. I'm gonna be quiet. I just want to get the time frame you're talking. You're talking about in America, right?
In America, outside America,
in America, y'all was separate from Black people. Go.
Do you think that Europe is better off that there's more Black people there now than there were before?
So you talk about Europe now or America now?
No, I'm just asking you a question.
I want you to
do you think that, for instance, I don't know, Cologne, Germany, or Italy, or Milan, Italy, or Sicily, whatever city you want to look at in Europe, do you think it's better off that it has more Black people? London, for instance, do you think London? Hold on. No, hold on. I know you go on and on.
I was gonna let you go. I was just trying to get your time.
No, can we just talk one at a time, please?
Yeah. Give me a second here.
Honestly,
do you think London is better off now that it has more Black people than it did 50 years ago?
I'm not in London. But what you started off talking about was that that you white people was separated from Blacks, and all I asked you was what time frame was you talking about, and you said in America, and I wanted to hear when y'all was separated from Blacks in America. I wanted to mute my
prior
mic.
to the 1965 Hart-Celler immigration, prior to the 1965 Civil Rights Act, whites were more segregated from Blacks. Actually, white people segregate themselves nowadays by choice, but white people were the country was had a large most of the country was white, and like the vast majority of the country was white, and segregation was happening, and whites were separate from non-white people, and whites were doing just fine. In fact, they were doing much better than they are today.
How?
Because our cities are being destroyed. Our wonderful cities that white people built, like Chicago, like Michigan Avenue, the Magnificent Mile, which is being looted over and over and over again, destroyed. Crime is out of control. New York City, crime is out of control because it was just better. It was safer. It was better. It was more prosperous. We didn't have this thing where businesses are leaving, the city's being completely decimated and destroyed. It was better. White people were better off.
So I'm glad you said that. So now, as you say that, right, you're just talking. You're not saying anything of facts. Now I'm gonna talk with facts.
I am.
I'm gonna give you the difference. As we stayed separate from y'all burned our cities to the ground. Black Wall Street was not joined to y'all. You burned it to the ground. Seneca Village, which you looked up yourself, was not bothering y'all. Y'all burned it to the ground. Excuse me, you didn't burn it. You got rid of it so you can expand Central Park, Rosewood. Because some white woman lied and said she was raped by a Black man, they burned it to the ground. So when we actually stayed separate from y'all, y'all couldn't handle our prosper. And you'll never be able to handle our prosper. That's why Kanye West is called what he's called, because you can't handle a black man's prosper unless it's under your foot.
No, Kanye West.
So what
Kanye
I just
West
said,
is
the
being
difference
called what
between
he's
the
called.
difference
Well, hold
between
on,
what
let
you
me
just
come in
said,
now.
I'm almost finished. The difference
So let me
between
respond then.
the different. I don't want you to focus on Kanye though. The difference between what you just said and what I just said is those cities that I'm referring to did not do anything to y'all, and you burned them to the ground for nothing more than jealousy. You're jealous of what black people can do outside of your supervision. That's a fact. Otherwise, Karens would not exist to be jealous of Wall Street, to be jealous of Seneca Village, to be jealous of Rosewood, to be jealous of the cities in DC and in California. And then now, once you burn them down to the ground and now we're in a survival mode, you get mad because we move into your neighborhood. Where else are we supposed to go? You have the floor. Hey, Ralph, real quick, Vince, before you respond. Hey, Ralph, I told you we was going to go to about 10 o'clock, so I probably got about maybe 8 more minutes. We'll go to 10:20, unless you got some questions or something.
Wait, we haven't even gotten to the crime statistics yet.
Ralph,
we have to get into that before we leave.
And I'll run through the super chats. Let him get a response. I'll run through the super chats, and then we'll do crime stats.
Okay.
And then, go ahead, real quick, Vince. Though, if you want to get the crime stats, go ahead.
Really? Okay. So, as far as well, first of all, prior to the slaves coming here to the U.S. and to North America, South America, the United States was doing quite well prior to the slaves arriving there. So I think that we were doing quite well before black people arrived here. You can look at, again, going back to the Europeans colonizing Africa prior to colonization. Those societies, those cultures, those countries were doing quite well. They were able to advance without the black man. They were able to advance without black people inventing the peanut butter or the COVID vaccine or anything like that. I think that white people were doing just fine without non-white people living in the countries and the cities that they created. Secondly, when we look at cities like Detroit, when we look at cities like St. Louis, when we look at cities like New York City, Los Angeles is another great example. When those cities were majority white, those cities were safe. Those cities were prosperous. Those cities were cities that businesses wanted to move into to do business in. Now that those cities, Detroit, another one, now that those Jackson, Mississippi, now that those cities have turned majority non-white, businesses are leaving, and therefore economic opportunities are leaving. And it's because of the black crime. That's the reason why they're leaving. It's because of the homelessness. It's because of the high black crime rates. It's because people can't go outside without them being worried about being shot or being robbed, or stores can't do business in these areas without worried about being looted. Those are the reasons why those places have turned to absolute shit. Those places were better when it was majority white people living there, and now they're shitholes. Now the crime rate is on par with the crime rate in many African countries, which is obviously understandable. As far as the crime rate is concerned, and this is something I wanted to get into, which we sort of glossed over here, yes, blacks do commit a higher crime rate than white people do, especially when it comes to violent crime, when it comes to murder, when it comes to aggravated assault, when it comes to robbery. This is a fact. And this is the reason, and it's because of the actions of black people that these things are happening to them, not because of what the white man did. Because the atrocities that you were describing back in, the 1800s or the 1900s or the, late 1950s or whatever the case, we are further away from those things that you've mentioned all throughout this debate. And yet, the black population in this country just continues to disintegrate, just continues to get worse. The crime rate continues to get worse. The out of wedlock rate continues to get worse. And so you have to have some sort of accountability. Like, you can blame the white man, you can blame Jews, you can blame, whatever else. but there has to be some sort of accountability there. You guys are black people are the ones who are consuming the music content, which is what Kanye talks about, created mostly by Jews in the music industry that advocates for them to, do the things that do things to women or assault people or become gang members. This is the culture that they have adopted. When black people assimilated into white culture, they were better off. They were better off. The family was stronger. Economically, they were stronger. The crime rate was lower. So, yes, if black people assimilated more into white culture instead of less, black people would be better off in this country.
All right, now let me play these. Let me play these, because if not, we'll just let it stay there, and then we'll do. Well, I'll let you respond after if you want, or we want to use.
I'll take the questions and I can respond after.
Yeah, it's just let me play some of these. I told everybody I was going to play all these super chats.
Ethan Ralph Content King 07 sent $3.
Thank you. I agree with that. Okay.
I bet you do.
Sent $3. Altars covered with streams of dry human blood, the stench of which was awful. Huge pits were filled with human bodies, dead and dying, and a few wretched captives were rescued alive. Descriptions of Africa from first British arrival.
All right, now some of these I'm just going to let play, or we won't be able to get through them all. Go ahead.
Anonymous sent $3.50. Hey, Captain. As always, it's a pleasure to see you come on here. You too, Vince. Much love from the Killstream crew.
I agree with that. Both cases. Go ahead.
Cookies sent $3. Revelations 13:9-10 is about the Antichrist, the beast from the sea, not about the second coming.
All right, now.
Tom AF sent $3. Captain. Was George Floyd compassionate when he robbed a pregnant sister at gunpoint with a couple of other brothers? Is compassion exclusive to white devils towards brothers? What's going on here?
All right, now that was brought up. If you want to answer that, because I know the Floyd thing came up. If you don't, it's fine, but he directed it towards you.
No, listen, Floyd probably committed a lot of crimes, but it's not for me. Like, if I was to go out there and punish him for whatever he did in this instance that he brought up, I would be as wrong as the white guy. And that's the point. Our job, we're not the judge and jury. A police officer's job is to arrest him in the name of the law to serve out whatever punishment the judge set forth. What the cop did on that day was take judgment in his own hand and never let up on him. So that's the difference. I'm not excusing George Floyd's behavior. What I am saying is that everybody has a right to justice, and he was denied that right by that cop that day. That's what I'm saying.
Once again, it's the refusal of accountability. Like George Floyd was resisting arrest for like 20 minutes straight or something like that. They had him in the car, and he dove out of the car and he dove to the ground. So I don't understand, like, why is there no accountability?
That no matter what I think here's how you would be saying accountability. If I said George Floyd should have been allowed to go free, that's not accountability. That's me taking away accountability. You ever heard me say that? What I said, people do that every day. People resist arrest every day. That's what makes a cop job hard, and that's why he's supposed to take police training to deal with people that resist arrest. He did not.
He did. The restraint that he used was exactly.
How long did he have his knee on his neck? How long?
I don't know. Probably not enough. Not long enough.
Wait. You said not enough. He died.
The way that he.
So wait. So you saying he should have had it on it longer? So what's worse than death? This why we call
it. Yeah, I mean, he should have restrained him earlier.
Clip that. Somebody on Clubhouse, clip that. He just said he didn't have his knee on his neck long enough. You are to prove the white man is the devil.
Not long enough.
He should have had it. So he should have had it on there longer. He should have been purple in the face. This is why
the restraint that he used was exactly in the police handbook. It was exactly.
But it wasn't enough. But it wasn't enough, right, Vincent? He should have did it longer.
Should have did it sooner.
No, you didn't. Don't try to remix it.
Should have did it longer.
The spirit came out of you the first time.
He should have been in prison. It shouldn't have happened to begin with if we actually had law and order in this country. But we don't have law and order in this country. You know, when you're talking about like Seneca Village and you're talking about some of these.
Don't change the subject.
Okay, no, yeah, he
Don't
should
try
have.
to change the subject. You said
yeah, no, I agree with that
on his
statement.
neck longer, and look, he doubled down on it.
Yes.
He said, "I agree
Yes,
with
I
that
doubled down.
statement."
I
And so
tripled
now,
down on it.
Just think about the inspiration you just gave to every cop. So every cop will say, I ain't do it long enough because Vince said
Cops are
I
not
need to be on
inspired
it.
nowadays.
Yes,
I'll
they
tell
are.
you that. Cops are
They're-
definitely not inspired
Why?
nowadays.
They would be inspired.
Cops are
if they had their
retiring and
foot on their
transferring
neck,
at the
right?
highest rates ever.
If they had their foot on their neck, they would be inspired, right?
Cops are
Like, this
leaving
is-
black
I want
neighborhoods,
you
and
to
that's
know,
why they're
hey,
becoming
Vince,
more
Hey
dangerous.
Vince, I'm gonna tell you something, right? I don't do these debates often. Ralph will tell you. Ralph will say we've spoken over like a year where we try to set up something to sit down and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I don't do these often because my tolerance for this type of nature infuriates me. But I do this as an educational tool because Vince came on here. He was cool, he was nice, and he sounded like he was loving. He might be a cool white guy, but the spirit of a white man always comes out of him. And your spirit came out when you said it wasn't on him long enough. So now when I tell my brothers we have more issues dealing with our own and we don't need to worry about what white people say, I'm going to use your clip. We're going to make a clip out of you. And I'm going to put you on repeat.
Wait, who says that? Or you say
I'm
that
gonna
you have more
put
experience, you have more
I'm gonna
problems?
put you on repeat saying,
Wait,
he
but
should have
who
had
says
his knee
that?
on his neck longer. He should have had his
Wait,
knee on his
wait,
neck
but
longer.
who
He
says
should
that?
have
Is
had
it
his
you
knee on
who
his
say
neck
you have
longer.
more
He
problems
should
in
have
your
had his
community
knee-
or your
Whatever
friends?
I'm talking about is of no concern to you because I'm not trying to help you. I'm trying to help my
No,
people.
I'm
just using
you're
you
100% not helping me or educating me about anything,
but I
to be
am
honest.
using you
Or anyone.
as the educational tool that there are no good white people. Even the ones that talk nice like you.
Who's saying right? Who's saying that's
Even
right
the
in the
ones that
background?
talk nice like you.
Host of the kill stream. All right, now give me a second. Let me play some of these super chats here. Let's see. I think this was for the hype guy there as well. He's shouting him out. Let me play this. Play. There it goes.
Last sent $5. Yo, shout out to the hype man in the studio with the captain.
Abaja, for those that want to know who that is in the background, that's Officer Abaja. He's the most famous Israelite for his ad libs. Everybody like there you go, right there. That's Officer Abaja out of New York City. Hey, I got about 2 more minutes.
All right, let me run through some of these because I told him I was going to play them. So just give me a second. I'll run through. I'm just going to let him play. Just let him go.
Can we get the green light? Sent $3. Adam Green will be able to add some seriously esoteric information to this debate. Can we reach out to him?
Well, not tonight, but it might be a good debate. You and Adam Green. He believes that
what do you believe?
Christianity is a Jewish hoax, basically a so-called Jewish hoax.
Oh, that might be good. That might be
that might be like he believes that it was like set up by the so-called Jews years ago to like trick white people.
Marcom sent $10. Hey, Captain, did you have a dad? You act like an effeminate woman taking vaxxers and playing victim.
Wow.
God damn. He paid $10 to say that one.
Forrest died multiple times the lethal limit of fentanyl, in addition to meth and other substances. The knee wasn't even on his neck in any lethal position, it was on the back of it. Blocked arteries, COVID positive, already ODing. Reality.
All right, let's keep going.
All right.
Das Right sent $3 for Captain. You say that black people are the real Jews. In the Old Testament, there are stories about how the Jews were disobedient to God many times, culminating in the Jews killing Christ. So my question is, why would you even want to be Jewish?
Nah, that's a little deep, but
I'll give a short answer. To just make a repentance for the mistakes of our ancestors.
Okay, but all right, let's keep going. We'll get through them. We'll get done by 10:30.
Anonymous sent $3. Take a joke, Capt. Sheesh, not long enough.
All right, now let's see. There's a couple more. Let's see. Damn, they're coming in. Still, let's see. No, this is. Yeah, K-Max sent a couple in.
Max McDonald sent $3. How would both guests see the South African situation differently?
That's a little bit of a long question. Just South African situation, Captain, real quick. Any thoughts?
I don't have no comment on South Africans.
Okay. Vince, any quick comment? Quick comment.
No.
He don't have no comment on South Africans either.
All right, fair enough.
Rowhouse sent $3 to Captain T and Vince agree that Chinese and Japanese have shown to be far more racist towards black people. Would seem obvious, but the guests' views?
Do you think that Chinese and Japanese are more racist than white people towards blacks, Captain?
I would say that their blatancy is not seen as much because they're not over here in America with it. But I think like when they go over America, they do have a lot of stuff that is racist. But the Chinese and Japanese, they didn't kill and rob and destroy my people like white people have. So it's hard for me to put anybody over white people in that category.
All right, let's keep going.
Cookies sent $3. Revelations 13:9-10 is about the Antichrist, the beast from the sea.
I think you played that one already, Ralph.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Oh, wait, I played this one too. See, I go. It's because they jumped out of order, and I'm having to go back and do it manually. Okay.
Night Driving Avenger sent $3. Vince versus Banana Enthusiast. Vince wins.
I didn't hear that.
It's just, here we go.
Bam Bam sent $3. Believe it or not, white people are American blacks' biggest ally. Whites will treat you better than any hockey, chink or Jew.
Now that's a nice sales pitch there. All right, now let's see. George Floyd. We played those. Let's see. I think most of these. Lord Zena. I don't think we played this one.
Lord Zena sent $3. Captain, good to have you back. Always enjoy your words. Sending love your way.
There we go. Okay.
Hey, Vincent, maybe we could do.
Sure, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No. I thought you was finished playing. You good, bro? You good?
Okay. No, yeah, I just got a couple more. I'm just trying to get as many of them as I can.
Okay.
So I might miss one or two because I'm jumping around.
Max McDonald sent $3. What do both guests think of immigration's effects on black and white Americans' wages and life in general?
That's kind of a longer question.
Yeah, that's a long question. Yeah.
But
bad, negative.
Bad.
Not just on wages, but like on everything else.
Yeah, they got to stop them East Indians from coming in illegally.
The culture with the best parents and ancestors will win in the end. Ali Jamal, you so lucky.
Literally, Hitler sent $3. One of these Israelites planning on moving back to Israel?
Anonymous sent $3. I agree with the captain in that the races should have separate homelands. Vince, would you agree with that?
Yeah, he would. He said that earlier. Yeah.
Anonymous
They played that
sent
twice. Okay, now this one, I think that might be the last one I missed. Sorry.
Need for Sneed sent $3. Vince, tell him about General Butt Naked, the African warlord who killed SND and enslaved other tribes using child soldiers running into the battle naked. Eating hearts before battle as a ritual.
I know
Raping.
about that guy. I know. About that.
You heard about that guy?
Yeah,
I actually don't.
I made fun of him because I'm not African. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah, I don't know if people know the whole story.
He was like eating people. He was eating their hearts.
Yeah.
He was fighting butt naked.
Dude, the captain makes fun of Africans all the time.
Is nasty, man. I'm not African, man.
If you ever watch the captain show, he makes fun of Africans. I've actually seen, I do my research a little bit. Yeah, well, I know a little bit. So I think they do have the wrong idea. I heard you say earlier, and it's like you guys need to know we're pretty hard on Africans.
Yeah, we don't rock. We can't stand no Africans either, man.
Yeah, I see this guy. Where do white people
Africans
fit?
can't stand us either,
Yeah, where do white people fit into your worldview? I guess that was a super chat. You can weigh in on that and do the farewells here.
Okay,
But are you
Vince,
hard
hey,
on
Vince,
black
I'll give
people?
you- Yes. So like, here's a part, Vince. Where
Why do you think that they commit all this crime and are like looting all these stores and doing all this stuff?
There's not a greater looter than white people, and we are the children of white people. Like it's.
So you're saying it's
hard,
white people's
hard,
fault
it's
that they're
hard for, no. That's
that
not
they're
what-
looting
that's
jewelry
not what I'm
stores.
saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. But we'll loot
Oh.
the jewelry store. You'll destroy the mayor's office. You'll storm because Tazaryach gets mad at me when I say the White House. Y'all storm the Capitol building. That's what they stormed, right? Y'all
There
was
was like I
y'all
think
was
there was
storming
like
Capitol
during the
building.
BLM
Listen,
riots.
y'all was storming.
Well, hold on.
Wait.
During
Please
the
don't bring up the Black Lives
no.
Matter because that's a lesbian movement.
No,
That is not a black
a
movement.
lesbian movement.
That is a
no,
lesbian,
it wasn't. No, hold on a minute. No,
Black
hold on a
Lives
minute.
Matter
It
is a
wasn't mostly
lesbian
lesbians.
movement. That's a lesbian movement. If you
It's
go on their
a Jewish
website,
movement,
they know.
actually.
Okay, Jewish, lesbian, same shit to me. So
yeah,
now,
Jewish,
when you go on the
I
Black
agree.
Lives Matter site, it says we're about the mother, the child, and the parent. They get rid of the father because it's a gay movement. Okay, so don't talk to me, but let me finish. Let me
Susan
finish.
Rosenberg, I
no
get
problem.
that.
Let me finish. I'm not talking about. I don't know why you brought up Black Lives Matter for. I don't talk about them.
I didn't even say that yet. I was just going to say during the
what I want to
BLM
point out
riots.
is y'all stormed y'all stormed the Capitol building and get applauded for it. Right. That's supposed to be treason. You're supposed to go to jail. You're supposed to do.
I'm pretty sure that resulted in the biggest investigation in U.S. history, bigger than the 9/11 investigation, and resulted in hundreds of people doing prison time.
Not only did y'all loot it, all of y'all lived. I guarantee you, if
Whereas,
there was black people and they stormed the Capitol, they all be dead. Wouldn't be no trial. They be dead.
Okay.
So let me.
So
don't interrupt me. Let me finish.
No.
I'm trying to
you've
answer your
talked long
question.
enough. You've talked long enough.
Hey Vincent, you can't say I talked long enough.
Okay, last word, and then let me respond to that.
When 30 seconds into the question, you interrupt me.
Look,
you
Capt,
act like a Karen. No, I'm gonna give Karen the floor. Go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
Okay. So
he said
the January 6th,
Flip that.
the
You
January
recognize
6th,
his name. Good.
So the January 6th riot resulted in the biggest investigation in U.S. history, bigger than even 9/11. It resulted in hundreds of people being rounded up. There are people who are like grandmothers who are doing like prison time right now because of that. Whereas with the Black Lives Matter riots, which you call a lesbian movement run by Jews, whatever, which is probably true, but it doesn't negate the fact that thousands of black people were black men, mostly young black men, were blowing up ATMs, burning down. You're talking about Capitol buildings. There were many state Capitol buildings that were stormed by BLM, that were firebombed by BLM. There were businesses that were burned to the ground. There were autonomous zones that were set up in certain U.S. cities, and there were multiple people that were killed. But it wasn't black people, and a lot more of those people got off. That tearing down statues all across the country, a lot more of those people got off when we're talking about criminal repercussions than did the people who stormed the Capitol building on January 6th. So all of what you just said is like completely false and a misrepresentation of what has just happened over the past couple of years.
I was never finished what I was saying for you to even know what I was saying. But what I will say, when you talk about bombing of them buildings, the reason why they're fake, one thing I know about black people, when they loot in the stores to get the TVs, they don't have a mask on. But when they was going into the municipal buildings and going into the upper white, what you would call white areas, and they had the mask on, that was white people pretending to be Black Lives Matter, appropriating our pain, just like y'all do it to this day. That's what y'all were doing. So I don't even know why you interrupted me when I first was speaking. So when you want to talk about crime, what I was saying is that y'all are the parents, we are the children. We learn from y'all. I wish we didn't learn from y'all, but we do learn from y'all. But nobody is a greater looter than y'all.
So if that were true, then you would see white people doing all this looting and committing all this crime,
because they
but
cover
you don't.
their face. That's my whole.
They cover their face.
Yeah.
No, during the Black Lives Matter riots, most of those
during the
people
Black
wore masks.
Lives Matter, those were not black people doing
Yes,
all
they
that
were.
looting.
Who were they?
Those were white people. Those were
white
your people. And to get back to my further point, when
Wait.
they stormed the Capitol, when they
Was it black people? Was it white people wearing masks that made it look like they were black?
Hold on 1 second, Vincent. Is somebody unmuting on the Clubhouse app? Please don't unmute the mic. Say that again, Vince.
Was for the people who did all the looting during the Black Lives Matter riots and blowing up the buildings and what have you? Was it white people that were just wearing like rubber masks as
Here's what
like
I'm
African
saying.
masks?
The difference between you and I is, I could be honest, you can't. I never said that black people didn't loot at all. I'm just showing you the difference between where black people loot and where white people loot. Neither one of them was innocent. You made a point to speak about accountability and then who we talk about and stuff like that. So when we go out and speak, we don't avoid admitting the crimes that we commit. We just fix the crimes by pointing out the root of the crime. The greatest murderer who we learn to kill from is your people. Who we learn to steal from is your people. We didn't have this during segregation. You didn't have the crime rates before, during segregation that we do in the time.
It was still pretty high.
No, it was not.
It was still pretty high.
No, it was not.
And it didn't fix the crime. Whatever you're doing is not fixing the crime. It's actually making it worse.
You did not have the breakdown of the family structure until
You didn't,
we decided.
but,
at least I'll give you the only thing you were honest
but
about.
the crime was still there.
Conversation. Crime is everywhere. What I'm speaking about is the rate of the crime, meaning the consistency of it, the flow of it. Where a black woman a black community at one time could leave their doors open, they can't now. That type of crime I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's because of black people.
No, that's because
wait,
let me rephrase it. It's not that it's not because of black people, but it's a representation of the oppression that y'all gave to black people. You beat a people. Like America is like the biggest economy to exist. That's what it runs on. It runs off of Wall Street. It runs off of economic. It runs off of how much money you can make. And when you take a nation and make it to where they can't make money legally, of course, they're going to go to illegal ways of making money. That's why I pointed out what Nixon and them was doing. So Nixon and them made it a way where you couldn't make money legally, but they gave you this illegal way to make money. And then when they gave them that illegal way to make money, they locked them up for the only option that they felt that they had at that time. So now in 2022, we as Israelites, we go out to fix that problem so that we can reduce that crime rate. But so we do two things.
Can you show me a city where you reduce the crime rate?
Yeah, every city that the Israelites are in, we reduce the crime rate.
Which cities are you in?
If I say every city, you might start naming that city in Idaho you live in. We're not in Idaho that you live in.
No, I'm glad you're not. What cities
we're not too? We probably have a foot on our neck. How if it was on George Floyd's neck for 3 minutes, you probably going for 4 to 5 minutes. I'm glad we're not in Idaho.
I thought it was 8 minutes. But anyway, what cities are you guys in?
So you're saying it should be longer than 8 minutes. I was trying to be nice.
I thought it was 8 minutes. I thought that was the official narrative.
I don't care. You name a city that we're in. The rate.
What city? Are you in New York City?
Yes, we are in New York
City. Okay, well, you're obvious. Whatever you're doing is not working because the crime rate has only gotten the homicide rate increased by like 30%.
That crime rate is not 2019 just to black people. That crime rate, the crime rate that you're talking about is overall. We're not the minority. We're not the majority in any city. We're the minority.
Yes, you are.
So we're the majority in New York.
Yes, the crime. Wait. Oh no, you're the majority in plenty of cities. Black people are in the majority in plenty of cities.
What's
Detroit. Detroit is mostly black. Jackson, Mississippi is mostly black. St. Louis, Missouri is mostly black.
I was very specific. That's why when I sent you that link, and when you isolated the violent crime, y'all are almost 100,000 more than black people.
That's not true. That's not true.
Click the link that I sent you.
That's not true. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at it right now. For total,
So for violent crime, it's the 1, 2, 3. So it says 209,848. Does it say that?
Yes.
So for black, African, or American, does it not say 129,346?
It does. Yes,
so
that's exactly what it says.
That y'all commit more violence.
So then when you disaggregate, no, but you have to go a step further. No.
I don't mind.
No, you're not gonna do this. You have to go a step further here. First of all, even if we just took that at its face, let's say there are only two groups of people in this country, just whites and blacks. We're not even going to include Hispanics here. But let's say that number was true. When we break this down per 100,000 people, because you have to adjust for population size, 13% of the population, Black Americans, the rate at which Black Americans commit violent crime is something like 3, 4, 5 times higher than white Americans.
Send it to me.
All you have to do,
just like you asked me to send you the link, and I gladly send it to you. If you can just pull up that stat and send it to me, because remember, the initial argument was that we commit more violent crimes than you. You didn't use per capita. You didn't say per capita when you thought you was right. That's not what you did.
No. I
said
still
we
am
did it.
right. Like if you then disaggregate Hispanic from the
if I
white
go to
number.
rape, y'all commit more rapes than us. No, we do now. One thing we do more than y'all is robberies. Aggravated assault.
Robberies.
Y'all commit more.
Robbery, aggravated assault, right?
No. Y'all commit more aggravated assault, more burglaries, larceny. Y'all 393,000. We're only 178,000.
We said violent crime, right? We said violent crime.
What
I'm
trying to do is just point out when you try to make it seem so like the media, which you call the Jewish media. You might as well be Jewish with them because you're perpetrating the same thing. So the media,
I'm not. I'm actually reading these statistics correctly. You're reading them incorrectly.
I'm not reading them incorrectly.
You don't know how to read this table. You don't know how to read this table.
I know how to read it
exactly. No, you don't.
Yes,
you don't know how to read this table.
When you break it down per
no, you don't. Because you have to remember. So first of all, hold on. First of all, I'll explain this to you. And I'm really trying to teach you something here. When you look at, for instance, gang members in this country, and you look at the FBI statistics on gang members in this country, you look at the racial breakdown of gang members, it's something like 90% of the gang members in this country are Black and Hispanic. So there's a category Hispanic there that is missing from the white and Black. So within the white category in the FBI data, and it actually goes on to talk about this if you read the fine print on the FBI table,
right?
The
you're
Hispanic
changing the argument now, though, right? Because here's
I'm
what
not.
Here's
I'm
what
not.
the devil wants to do. Yes, you do.
I'm not.
He wants to find a
No, I'm
stat
not.
that includes the Hispanics with the whites, so he can say the numbers reflect both the Hispanics and the whites. That's what you want to do.
Even if you include,
look,
that's exactly right. But that's exactly right, though.
But this stat here does not include Hispanics with white people. So that number,
yes, it does.
No, it does not. Then why is there?
Yes, it does.
Why?
You just have to scroll to the right. All you have to do is scroll to the right.
All you got to do is look at Hispanic or Latino, and it says 79,000. That's what it says. So there is a number for the violent crimes. Yes, it is. Listen, I'm going to put the link in the YouTube chat as well. So my listening audience
you just don't know how to read it.
I know how to read it perfectly.
You just don't know how to read it.
The whole reason why you want to go to a whole gang violence is because you want to go to a stat that helps your position. I'm being honest. So when I'm being honest, it says total arrests by race.
Okay,
that's what it says.
Look at the race category on the table, right? There's a column that says race. Right? Race of offender. This is the column. This is arrests. Right? And this is just based on arrests. We know now that the rate at which we are solving homicides and violent crime in this country right now has just fallen to the lowest level in history.
Right.
As far as the clearance rate is concerned. So this is just arrests. The crime rate is much higher than this. So if you look at the column that says race,
arrests, I agree with you on that.
If you look at the column that says race, it specifies which races this includes. And it says white, Black or African American, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian, and Native Hawaiian.
I'm sorry.
So the number that they're giving there for violent crime does not include the Hispanic population. If you scroll over to the right, it separates ethnicity. So when you look at violent crime and you see 70,000 of these violent crimes, their ethnicity, meaning the white in the white column is Hispanic or Latino, then you therefore have to
Why couldn't that number be in
subtract.
the Black African or American or the American Indian or Native?
Because if you read further into the FBI statistics and you look at the FBI statistics, it actually tells you about this.
I'm looking at the same link that you're looking at.
This is something that I've been over on my show for years and years and years and years.
When I look at this, what you're trying to imply is not what this link says. You're a liar.
Okay, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, it says in 2019, 69.4% of all individuals arrested were white, 26.6% were Black or African American, and 4% were of other races. So do you see anything where they're talking about Hispanic there?
That would be the 4%. What I would say, would say about let me finish.
So then next, let me
answer the question. Let me answer the question.
It says
what I would say is that this is more concerned about white versus black than anybody else, because when you read the next line of arrestees for whom ethnicity were reported, 19.1% were Hispanic or Latino. So now the only argument that you can argue, because it says of arrestees for whom ethnicity was reported.
Ethnicity.
Right. But the top part said of all individuals arrested were white. So it gives you the percentage of who were identified as white.
I'll show it on screen right now. You have race in a column here, and you have no Hispanic here at all. When you scroll to the right,
don't just say Hispanic. You don't have no other race, period. That's why I said this seems like
besides white and black.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's why I said this seems like a link that's specifically given the percentages of white and black predominantly.
No, when they say 19%. No, when they say 19%,
is any other race is only the black and white race in America? No, right?
No,
you got Asian, no problem. You got Asians, you got Arabs, you got Hispanics. So when it says
and therefore there's an Asian category in race.
Once again,
I just want to interject.
Go ahead.
The reason why it doesn't show Hispanic as a race is because under government forums, Hispanic is actually considered an ethnicity. So you can be any race and Hispanic. So that's why it breaks Hispanic out differently, and it doesn't show it as a race. Sorry.
Thank you. You're further proving my point. So when we go to the bottom, that he asked to say go to the bottom. It says in 2019, 69.4% of all individuals arrested were white. That means they identified as white. That's what it says. 26.6% were black or African American descent. So even in this thing here, all arrests, you guys were arrested more than us. I don't know why you brought us to the... Did it not just say in 2019, 69.4% of all individuals arrested were white? Yes or no?
Okay. So if you look at violent crime,
don't say okay. Yes or no?
For violent crime,
no.
You have to subtract the 79,000 Hispanics. You have to subtract
violent
the
crime.
79, the 80,000 Hispanics.
I'm talking about arrest, period. You brought us down to the bottom. I didn't even read this, but since you brought us down here,
arrest period. Okay, so if you want to talk about arrest period,
you brought us down here and read this.
Okay, listen.
You read this. I didn't read this.
The 69.4% includes Hispanics.
That's what you're saying.
Which is that's exactly what the last caller said as well.
This says
that's what this table is saying. That's what
were whites, 26 were black or African, and 4% were of other races. That's what this says.
19.1% were Hispanic or Latino.
That's of the 4%.
No, it's not. That's of the 69% white.
Why can't it be of the 26%?
Because it's not.
Why?
Because that's not the way that it is. That's not the way this data works.
No, that's not the way you want to choose.
Even if no, that's not the way that this data works. You can further research. You didn't even know that the Hispanic category existed on this table until I told you to scroll over.
18 arrested in 2019, 62.5% were white, 33% were black. So now it's going down even further. The juveniles that were arrested, more juvenile white people were arrested than black people, 62% to 33%. And then it says of juvenile arrestees of whom ethnicities were reported, 23.6 were Hispanic or Latino. That's of the 3.6%. That's common sense.
Of all adults arrested, subtract Hispanic or Latino from the white number, you're going to get about the same amount of juveniles arrested for whites versus blacks.
Of all adults arrested,
which is crazy, by the way.
Of all adults arrested was 69.9% white, 26.1% black.
Don't you think it's a problem?
I think it's a problem that y'all commit
population
such a high rate of crime than we do, but we're the ones that get vilified on
Rate?
TV. Y'all are 69.9. Y'all are 69.4%.
That's not the rate. That's the percentage, and that includes Hispanics.
Y'all are 69.4% of all arrests, but yet on media, we're looked at as the criminals. At 26.6%,
okay, yes, because you are because it's blacks who are committing the majority of the crime in the most dangerous cities in the country.
Y'all are more than 50% over us.
Dude, it's not.
You're over
it's
double.
Not black.
You're
okay.
over double. You're over
There's
double
a reason,
more.
That's not true. First of all, you just don't understand how to read this data.
This your site.
You don't. This is what you sent me. This
no,
is
when I'm saying this your site, this is the FBI. I'm gonna put the link in the chat again.
Yeah,
this is
and
the
you
FBI
don't know what you're looking at.
2019 crime in the United States.
You don't even
stats.
understand what you're looking at.
I understand it perfectly.
No, you
and
don't.
I know how
you
to
didn't
not
even know
let a
that
white man
you didn't
twist
even
the
know
stats.
enough to scroll over and look at the Hispanic category. Don't you
So
think?
now-
Let me just ask you a question. Don't you think it's a problem that what is it like 4% of our population, black males aged
So
18
now
to
it says
35,
white juveniles
commit
say
something
again?
like 60% of the homicide? Don't you think that's an issue?
Say it one more time. I didn't hear you.
Do you think it's an issue that 4% of our population, black males aged 18 to 35, commit 60% of the homicides in the country?
Where does it say that at?
Well, I mean, if you just look at homicide right now, this is different because this is data from 2019. This is prior to the crime surge, by the way.
Tell me where you're looking at. You're looking on
But
the,
if you
the
look
chart.
if you look at murder and non-negligent manslaughter, and you see white versus black, we're seeing 4,000, and this is just arrests, by the way.
Murder and
half of the murder goes unsolved.
Non-negligent manslaughter. Why did you
Yes.
say? Why did you say 4,000?
It says the link that you sent me says 4,000.
You said under 18 or over 18? Which one you?
No. 4,000 total.
Okay, 4,000 total.
4,000 total, right? And we know that it's mostly young men that are committing the murder.
Well, it doesn't say that.
It's-
No, it doesn't say young men. Because
okay,
it says
it's
so. Like when you
obvious that
isolate,
it's mostly.
No, because
Okay, it's
like when you
obvious
go
that it's
under
mostly
18,
men, right?
When you go under 18, it's 314. So I'm assuming these are men that are 18 and over,
I
where
know.
that number is higher.
Yeah, it's mostly 18 and
So like
over who are
when you go at
committing
when you go
crime.
at 18 and over, you have whites at 3,352, blacks at 3,764.
Right.
So I would say they're kind of.
Would you agree it's mostly men, though? Would you agree it's mostly men?
What, for both of them, white men and black men?
Yeah, mostly men who commit crime.
So I still would say that now, as a black person speaking, I don't want none of my people killed. So that number is extremely high for me. But it's not.
Would you agree it's mostly men that commit crime versus women?
Depending on the type of crime, yes. Depending on.
Okay,
the type of crime.
would you agree that it's mostly men who commit violent crime?
Potentially, yes. I would probably agree with you on that. Like when I look at this
Okay,
rape for y'all at
what about murder?
9,598, y'all rape way more than black people.
That's not true.
I'm
But-
looking at
so-
the
so you
numbers.
agree
Says
that
arrest
it- so
18
you
and
agree
over for
that
rape
it's-
is 9,598 white men.
Because you don't know how to read the data that you sent me.
3,600. Wait. So we don't know how to
But
read
hold
the
on.
data. Why you want me to read the data for the murder?
Okay, but
You
but
can't
listen,
pick and
I'm trying to
choose when you
explain
want to
something
read
to
the
you.
data.
You asked me where I got my the last statistic that I just quoted. You were asking
And
me
you
where I got
from
that
the
from,
same
and I'm
data that you're
asking
saying
you
I
if
can't
you would
use
agree.
when I showed how y'all rape more.
Okay, you did, but you didn't show that.
I did show that.
Secondly,
If
you
go
agreed
right
that
to, if you go right to rape, arrest, if you go to rape, it'll show that y'all are 9,598, 18 and over. Y'all rape. If you go
Okay,
to it.
so once
and I
again,
don't have-
that
and
includes
and
the Hispanic
difference-
number.
The difference between you and I is when you bring up that we murder pretty much at the same clip, and if you go per capita and say we murder more, I'm not going to hide and say that includes black Hispanic people. I'm not going to hide and say that's the wrong data. I'm going to say that we shouldn't kill each other at that clip. But you
Right,
started
so
off.
two
You thought
things.
you had a point when it came to the violent crime. That's what you thought.
I did.
I know, and
so
you
two
realized
things.
you didn't.
So two things. Number one, you agree that it's mostly men that are committing the murder versus women.
For
right,
both
in
sides,
comparison to
I would
women.
say white. I would say
I'm saying period.
Right.
In general,
Right.
it's mostly men that are committing the murder out there. So this is the reason why I say that at least we can say 6%, because if blacks are 13% of the population, we can have that because they 6.5% of the population is committing over 60% of the homicide in the country. Don't you think that's a problem?
No, because the number here.
You don't think that's
the number that they have here is 1,815,144. And out of that, and out of that 1,815,144, it says 4,070. So I would have to actually let me see if I look up that percentage and see what that percentage is. That's not that hard.
So because it's just for arrests, right?
If you don't mind, sir.
Well, go ahead real quick, Bibble.
Oh, Bibble coming to save Vincent again.
No, not at all. I didn't save him the first time. I wanted to clarify.
The total, it is 60% of the total arrests for murder, by the way.
So I wanted to ask you about the Revelations chapter again, saying that those who led into slavery led into slavery.
We kind of got away from I've actually extended my time by 56 minutes, Bibble, so I could talk to Vincent a little bit more. I don't know if I got time to address that, but I tell you what, you can come and call in Across the Line Radio Thursday, and we could talk.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Actually, that'd be good. You can air it on your show.
Yeah, that's 4%.
White people, right?
Say that one more time, Bibble.
White people that will go into captivity, right?
Not just white people, but yeah, they would be part of it. Hey, that's 4% of the population.
No, it's not.
Because
you're taking total arrests and you're subtracting 4,000.
No, I'm not. I'm subtracting. I'm taking the total, and then doing the percentage of murder and how that affects the total of the arrest. So this wouldn't even reflect the population of black people, because like you said, this is just the total of arrests. So this 1,815,000 doesn't represent all black people. That 4,000 just represents 4% of this 1.8 million. Excuse me, this 1.8 million 15,000. That's it. That's all that would represent.
So you're taking 1.8 million and you're subtracting 4,000 to get the percentage.
Dividing. Yeah, dividing.
Yeah, so but we're looking at the total arrest for homicide. Total arrest for homicide is 7,000.
You said murder and not you're moving. You're starting to disappoint me and make me feel mad about doing this, because we agreed based on the link, murder and non-negligent manslaughter is 4,078. So why are you taking me to a number that says 7,000?
Because we're doing total arrests. If you take the percentage,
so but you're changing the argument.
4,000 is 60% of 8,000. No, what I'm saying is there's a problem when you have half of the black population, 6%, probably lower than that.
But this is not half the black population.
Okay, but
there's more than half, and this total the total says the total says 6,816,975. There's more people in the United States than 6,800,000.
Yes.
Okay, then. So don't say that this is the total of black people in America. This is only talking about arrests.
Yes. That's what I pointed out to you toward the beginning of this entire discussion, which you didn't even know about this table to begin with.
I did know about that.
What we could take, this is a snapshot of data. What we can use to determine the crime rate, the rate at which people commit crime. Right? This is the whole reason why you sent this link to me.
You're talking about you like the onus, like how I sent it. Like we're discussing this because I presented this to you.
Yes.
When you start bringing out data saying that this includes Hispanics and start bringing out data outside of that, you just have to present something that's
literally what the table says.
The table don't say it. When you brought us down to the bottom to read, it made a differentiation between white, black, other races, Hispanic, and Latino.
No, it actually explains. It never says that there's no separate category for Hispanic or Latino.
It never said that the white percentage included. If it said the white percentage included Hispanic or Latino, I would give it to you. It wouldn't be a big deal. But it doesn't say that. You just want us to accept it because you said it. So now that it's 11 o'clock,
Hispanics are not a separate racial category in the FBI data. That's exactly what it says.
No problem. If we could both stop, it's 11 o'clock. Neither one of us got a last word, but I will give you a closing and I can do a closing, and then I can roll. I did stay an extra hour. If you ask,
know what? I appreciate you staying for extra hour, by the way.
Hey, no problem.
We're going on your own.
No, but I thought that was good to go over that because a lot of people wanted to go over the stats of the criminal investigation part. Vincent, I'll give you the last word, and then I'll go after you. I definitely appreciate the dialogue, Killstream. You know I love your show. So Vince, you got it.
I appreciate you saying that, and I'll let Vince go, and I'll just apologize. I know some people wanted to call in, and there was more super chats, and we only had so much time, guys. I wanted to let these guys talk.
We can do. You know what? If Vincent, if you're down, maybe in like 2 or 3 weeks or something, maybe we could do a part 2 because this kind of like maybe our introduction to each other. Maybe we could do another round if you want to.
Yeah.
But Vince, you can close out, and then I'll close out after you.
That'd be great. Yeah, go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, so this entire time, I was actually kind of disappointed we didn't get into Kanye West or some of the things that he said. I really wanted to get into that discussion. But this whole entire stream reminded me of just black people complaining, and not taking accountability for the actions of their own community. And this is something that we've been dealing with for over 400 years or so, and especially in the last 2 or 3 years, just complete denial of reality, just complete refusal to hold themselves accountable for what's happening in their community and what's happening to their neighborhoods, and just constantly trying to blame other people for the perils that they face, for the negative results of what they do, of the actions that they take. That's what this entire stream was. He doesn't have any basic understanding of statistics. He doesn't really have any understanding when it comes to the history of the world at all. When it comes to slavery, when it comes to colonization, he refuses to acknowledge reality when it comes to the results of what has happened throughout world history when it comes to colonization and how white people created the modern world that he enjoys. He says they'd be better off without white people, but we don't see too many of them moving out of the United States or out of first world countries to live in places where there are no white people. And this entire debate, this entire discussion was just a denial of the basic reality that most people understand, that even many black people understand in these black neighborhoods where they are like ridden with crime. And then I'm really disappointed we didn't get into Kanye West or have time to talk about Kanye West, but hopefully we can have a part 2, like he said.
That gives us another reason for a part 2, and we'll just lead it off with Kanye West. And we kind of let it off tonight with Kanye, and then I cut it, and so we got off track. Well, not off track. We got to the schedule. But yeah, I'd love to do it again in a few weeks if both you guys are down. Captain Tazaryach, thank you for coming tonight. Go ahead and tell people where to find you and whatever else you'd like to say.
I appreciate it. Y'all can find me on YouTube if you subscribe to Cross the Line Radio. That's my YouTube channel. We do a radio show every Thursday night, 10 p.m. to midnight. Vincent, you're more than welcome to call into the show. The number is 917-779-9499. I definitely appreciate Killstream having me. It's kind of hard to get me. He probably yells at me a lot to himself when but these rooms, although I like to do them and I love Killstream, sometimes the environment is always not conducive, because when you talk to gentlemen like Vince and stuff like that, they're very good at twisting the conversation to make it seem as if we're not taking accountability, which we are. Black people are always told to take accountability. The one people that are not allowed to take accountability, or refuse to, is white people. Every time we come up with and point out the crimes that they've committed that led to conditions that we are in, they don't want to man up and face that. And that's what you heard. It's so disingenuous. I want everybody to remember this. Cat said that George, the cop, did not have his knee on his neck long enough. That's the type of white people that we talk to every day. The white guy at you, because Vincent sounds nice. Hey guys, how you doing? That's how you sound.
I am a nice guy.
I didn't interrupt you when you was talking.
Go ahead.
Shut your mouth. I appreciate it. I did not interrupt you one time. You're dealing with a free. I'm a free man. I don't need you to say go ahead. I just need you to
Free man
slide
is
over and push
back,
that. I need you to slide over and push that mute button.
Go ahead.
I'm a free man, so I don't need a white. And again, white man can't. I was quiet the whole time the devil talked. He can't be quiet while I talk, and that represents the problem we have in this community. It's never an issue. Kanye West, which we didn't talk about a lot, but he represents similar to what me and Vincent went through in this room. What me and Vincent went through in this room is, as long as I'm talking about our condition and not charging him for the problem, he's cool with it. The minute I charge him with the problem, he's not cool with it. When we brought up them stats, which he wanted to bring up them stats, when he realized the numbers was higher on his side than the other side, he wants to bring another nation into it. But it was a good build overall for us, for the agenda that we speak about. And again, if I have some time in about 3 weeks or so like that, Ralph, of course, you can always hit me up. We can do a round 2. We'll work out the schedule. Make sure y'all watch Commander Jenny Hanna's show. He's the leader of my organization, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. His show is called Black Watch on YouTube. I appreciate y'all having me. That's all I got, man. I appreciate it. Shalom. To the room.
I want to say thank you to your audience as well, because we had about 1,100 on my show, 300 on his, and
500 or so on ours, about 100, almost 200 on Clubhouse. So I definitely appreciate y'all joining me. And until next time, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave the room. All right.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
no
you
sweat.
coming
Y'all
on.
take it easy. All right. And with that, so again, damn right. Who said that? Who said that? That soccer war. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you something. So when y'all like, I'll be the biggest proponent for saying why we don't really deal with Esau like that, and that's part of the reason. It's beneficial in the sense, depending on the enemy that you're fighting. So Vincent James, for those that don't know, is a popular guy with some red elephants with the Democratic Party or something like, not the Republican Party. He's pretty popular. So he's a good enemy to fight. So it's some suffering that you got to do, but it's good fruit because a lot of black people listen to that. But overall, I struggle with entertaining white people. So you won't see me entertain white people for a long time after that. But I appreciate y'all joining on YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe. If you haven't subscribed on the One West on the 100 side, make sure y'all hit that greenhouse up at the top. Make sure y'all follow the room, follow the moderators. We'll see y'all in 2 days. Well, I don't know, because Tazaryach might be doing the show by himself, because I don't think I'm going to make it to Houston, but Tazaryach is going to Houston. Tazaryach telling me I got to call in. But I won't think I'll be making it to Houston, but in 2 days we'll be on there. Shout out to my man GQ Auto Sales. We definitely gonna make a lot of clips. And let me tell y'all something. When y'all heard that devil say he should have had his neck on his knee short, knee on his neck shorter, that's longer. That's every white person. Shalom. That devil said that shit like he meant that shit in real life.